to Sports Time. Bryant and Brett with you in our Family Leisure Studios. Darian Newsom producing for us. We're Sports Time, and we're with you for the next 3 hours on this Monday afternoon. We got a lot to get into, a lot going on today. We've got all of the football from over the weekend. We've got, I'm going to call it playoff baseball right now. Winning you're in games for both the Mets and the Braves. We've got Grizzlies Media Day going on today, so a little bit of everything. Monday Night Football tonight, so a little bit of everything on the table today. We'll try to get to as much of it as we can. But Brett, how are you this afternoon?
Brian, I'm doing well. Got a little reverb, Darren. Over the weekend. Everything went fine. Some of the things out of my control didn't go so well.
Yeah, well, yes, it was not a great weekend for you, but
no.
For Ole Miss at least on that end. But you know, you in other ways had a good weekend.
I did, and had a real fun weekend. And on our picks, and the reverb's killing me.
Yeah, we're gonna fix it, Brett.
I got to get some help.
Yeah, we're gonna fix it.
But over the weekend, I don't know how we did this, but we all went 4-2 in college football, and we all hit our shock picks, which is really good for everybody. And then on Sunday, old Brett goes 5-0 in NFL on Sunday. You know me, Mr. NFL, so did that on Sunday, and we'll pick both of those games tonight. And Brian, you set it up well in the beginning. Today is a very, very busy, newsy day. We got Grizzlies Media Day. We got Media Day really across most of the rest of the NBA. We had those two early ones last week that play the preseason game, I think Thursday, isn't it? Isn't that preseason game coming up Thursday?
Friday.
Mm-hmm. Friday in the night, our time, right?
No. It's in the morning, our time, I believe.
Okay.
It's like 11 o'clock, I believe, our time.
And so we had that. Had LeBron and Bronny spoke today.
Mm-hmm.
Had that, and we'll talk a lot of Grizzlies. Rob Fisher will join us and talk Grizzlies. And I think all the statements from FedEx Forum are what we want to hear.
Sure.
In turning the page, we're going to talk a lot of college football. We always do on Monday with the kind of the autopsies, the Monday mulligans. And I want to be clear. Mm-hmm. Everything I say today, I want Kentucky fans to know I am here to praise.
Sure.
I'm here to give credit to the victor, well earned. And I don't know what woulda, coulda, shoulda happened if it had gone to overtime, but it didn't.
Sure.
And to discount and to think what would have happened in overtime, I think does a disservice to them, and I'm going to give them a lot of credit. But that one was on Ole Miss, and that was an Ole Miss team that frankly had most of August and September to get ready for that game, because those tomato cans leading up to it was not the focus.
Sure, and I mean, we talked about that last week where, you know, this was the first test of the season. I mean, everything they had played before was, you know, easy gimme games, and so, you know, your first SEC opponent being Kentucky at home, you feel good about it. You look at what that spread was going into it. I mean, 17, 18 points, and you couldn't capitalize in that moment. So yeah, give credit to Kentucky, but
for sure,
Ole Miss should have been better prepared for that one.
And 16-point favorite at home. And also this, I've heard some want to talk about, well, slower start, maybe early start time, weren't ready. Ole Miss drove down and scored easily first drive.
Yeah.
I mean, they came out, you know, just everything clicking, then didn't score again until first drive of the second half, and that was it. 2 touchdowns all day.
Yeah.
2.
Yeah, and I mean, you know, we talked a lot about this Ole Miss offense and how good it's looked through, you know, these first 4 games of the season. So you're right to see only 2 touchdowns in that game was little disappointing. But Brett, I saw after the game, and it's a conversation we had last week. It's almost like, deja vu of what we talked about last week with the Tigers and their loss to Navy. I saw that Lane Kiffin, after the game, speaking to the media, called Saturday a beyond disappointing day.
There's that word
that
again.
word again. So, Brett, I will flip the question you asked me a week ago onto you, and I want you to describe Saturday's game, Ole Miss's loss, one word, and it not be the word disappointing.
Brian, this show is going to go on a one-show campaign. We've got to eliminate the word disappointing from the sports lexicon. We have to. We have to come up with other words.
Brett.
There's Mr. Webster's got a big old book full of them.
That's right.
You can get them on the internet, and I think that word kind of salves over and is the big broad brush over a couple things, and it kind of shuts down the discussion.
Sure, yeah, because it's so vague and so broad, and you can just say disappointing, and that kind of just checks off everything. Oh yeah, they're
in what?
Yeah, exactly.
Offense, defense, special teams, preparation. Ability to come back after the other team lands the first punt. In what? My one word: pathetic.
I think that's a really good word.
And I will say it later. And I feel it. I think it's the worst home SEC loss in Ole Miss football history.
Wow. I saw they threw it up. At the end of the game, Kentucky's first win in Oxford since 1978. So it's been a long time since Kentucky's won.
Now, couple things on the kind of the vagaries of that. Remember, a lot of times that game would be played in Jackson.
I see.
And a lot of times, even when it was a 10-team league, we rarely ran into each other.
Sure, yeah.
I mean, the scheduling was a little bit goofy. And then when we got into two divisions, East and West, it was very rare to run into each other. And now, the last few years have quite a bit. Third different matchup in Coach Lane Kiffin's era against Coach Mark Stoops. I know I said this too Saturday postgame. When you coach at Kentucky for 12 years and you've outlasted John Calipari and you passed Barry Bryant in all-time wins, you've done a heck of a good job.
Oh, yeah. He has done a fantastic job at Kentucky. And I don't think, and we've talked about this plenty of times before, I don't think gets as much respect as I think he deserves in college football, in the SEC.
Isn't that the specter of basketball there?
Yeah.
Doesn't that do some of that?
I think so. Yeah, it's its own thing, really.
And they have
overwhelms everything.
And in state, they battle with U of L.
Exactly. Yeah.
And Louisville pops in and pops out with good teams. Had a Heisman Trophy winner, Lamar Jackson.
Absolutely.
And that, it's a real small state that basketball is the focus.
Absolutely.
I think there are a lot of factors that kind of push Kentucky to the back burner. But now when we're not. But we are going to give out grades Wednesday at 4:30, and it's going to be flat letter, no plus, minus, cop-out. Flat letter grades, A, B, C, D, or F. You go to the registrar's office, you don't get any minuses. There's never been a minus factored into a grade point average.
No.
It'd be impossible to figure one if you tried. And a lot of times the plus and minuses are cop-outs. But we're not going to redo W's and L's. But if we did – could somebody tell me what Ole Miss is going to fit? Tell me what Kentucky's going to finish.
It's a great point. I mean, that maybe maybe not, but that would be a lot of work. But if you're right, if we just didn't look at what we did before the year, just right now, what we know already, and then fill out the rest of the W's and L's, I'm sure it would be completely different than what
Aren't
we
they
had
coin tosses?
Oh, for sure, 100%.
Because again, I want to give Kentucky credit, but after you lose at home to Kentucky, everything, pardon the pun, is a jump ball.
Yes, it certainly is, and so it makes it changes a lot when it comes to the season. Just one loss, it's kind of wild how it does that.
What have you heard or seen from Grizzlies media day that stands out to you so far today?
My favorite thing, and I'll bring it up with Rob, is the Jalen Wells story. The prank that was pulled on him. That was my favorite thing. That he said he was at a restaurant and John Conchar came up to him and like saw him randomly in there. John Conchar came up and said, "Hey, big Grizzly fan, can I get an autograph? Can we take a picture?" Jalen was like, "Of course." It's like his second day in Memphis. He hadn't even been they haven't even had a practice or anything. It's like, "Yeah, man, that's cool." So they take a picture together. He autographs it, and then John Conchar leaves. And the owner of the restaurant was like, "Yeah, you know that's your teammate, right?" And he was like, "What?" And he was like, "Yeah, that's John Conchar. He plays for the Grizzlies."
That's good.
He was like, "I had no idea." That's probably my favorite. But no, there's been a lot of good things from media days. I thought Ja said a lot of good things. I liked what he said. A happy Ja is a scary Ja. And then what Zach Edey had to say. I really liked what he had to say, where he said he's been working all summer and there's a lot of things that he can do that people haven't seen yet. And maybe people don't expect. So I thought a lot of good things from Grizzlies media.
Hey, David, we got some breaking news for you guys.
Yeah,
okay? The Mets have clinched the wild card.
Mets are in.
Mets are clinched.
8-7, Mets win. Boy,
that was Braves.
That was about 4 different games, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was a wild one. And had a guy on second with one out in the bottom of the ninth and couldn't get him in.
So Major League Baseball, you told me before we came on, instructed both teams, if you win, no champagne celebration?
Yeah, so they supposedly, I saw on social media earlier, Major League Baseball reached out to both teams and asked if they would wait to celebrate, whoever won the first game, if they could wait to do the full celebration until after both games are done. So what will likely happen is Atlanta will win the next game, and then both teams will be celebrating the fact that they're in.
Well, ought to party together, shouldn't
exactly.
they?
I mean,
meet halfway downstairs.
Yeah, some people said they should just bring the party out to the field and all celebrate together on the field. But,
let the fans get involved.
That's right. Yeah. Let's. So quick turnaround. I think they're shooting for 340, or probably a little bit later than that. Kind of a long game, but yeah, they're going to turn right around and we'll play two.
And poor Arizona Diamondbacks. They have to. That's the baseball equivalent of sitting back there waiting for that governor's stay of execution a little before midnight, isn't it?
That's right. And they were talking about it earlier that a lot of the coaching staff and people in the office, they all got together. There's a restaurant in the stadium. They're all at the restaurant at the stadium watching that. All the players were going to come later and eat and watch the games together, to watch the end of the first one and most of the second one. So, it's got that almost like Selection Sunday feel to it, where I wish we could have cameras on them while they're watching all the action to see if they're in or not.
And press conference in St. Louis, on the dais, the duets with John Mozeliak and with the person that will take over. And I'm very, very supportive of this. His name is pronounced Chaim Bloom. The spelling of his first name is Chaim. It looks like Chaim. It's pronounced correctly, Chaim.
Okay.
And Brian, how many times have I said, just hire everybody in the Tampa Bay Rays shop and everybody else get out of the way? Well, this is where he comes from.
Yeah.
And he's been around this year in an advisory capacity, and he will take over after next year with John Mozeliak being out, and Chaim Bloom will take over. And that press conference today was the first step in finessing, in letting the fans know it's going to get a lot worse before it gets better.
Oh, yeah.
On the field.
Yes. And, some of the things that I didn't watch the press conference, but reading a lot of the comments from it, I was like, yeah, this isn't great. But like you said, you try to get somebody from Tampa Bay. They certainly got somebody that was, played a huge role in their minor league systems. And there was a story out, I guess late last week, kind of talking about him, and like you said, Brett, how he's kind of been around the entire year, just kind of looking at everything and seeing where the team is as an organization from top to bottom. And so we'll see we'll see what he can do. But yes, you're right, it does feel like this is going to be a long, drawn out process rather than a quick fix.
Yeah, and I wanted to do all this dealing around the deadline time. I think Sonny Gray will be gone because they don't want to wait around till they're on the hook for that $35 million in that last year for him. We know Paul Goldschmidt's out. We know Nolan Arenado will probably be out. I think Ryan Helsley should be dealt. and I would not have any safeguards on Mason Wynn. Right deal came along, certainly listen. And for all those, you got to get at least 2 or 3 guys you can count on for opening day 2028.
I think so.
Oh, boy, to sell to Cardinal fans.
Oh, yeah.
Everybody holds you fire till 2028. Oh, man.
It's going to be tough. Really, really tough. Last thing I wanted to get to in this first segment before we get to top and not top story, the breaking news this morning, really sad breaking news, the passing of Dikembe Mutombo. 58 years old, passed of brain cancer, and just a legend for his country, for his continent as a whole, and then what he did here in the NBA, especially on the defensive end, just incredible. I mean, an unbelievable athlete and player, and from everything I've heard, an unbelievable person.
One of basketball's happiest warriors, biggest ambassadors, and that moment, he was primary. He was in the middle of changing the playoff rules, because when in '94, when the Nuggets upset Seattle, and that shot of him cradling the ball at the end of the game, I think that was either best 2 out of 3 or 3 out of 5. And that's when they said, no, we're going 4 out of 7 from here on.
Yeah.
We can't have 1 seeds losing like that. He was instrumental in that. And out of Georgetown, think of those 3 big men for the NBA that a big mountain of a man, a great man, John Thompson, produced. Patrick Ewing, Alonzo Mourning, and Dikembe Mutombo.
Yeah, I mean, it's incredible. And that was really, really sad news this morning. And that was another thing I learned from Grizzlies Media Day. Jaren Jackson Sr. and Dikembe Mutombo were roommates in college at Georgetown. And so Jaren was talking about that today and kind of talking about how big of a impact Dikembe Mutombo had on his life, and obviously, he's obviously close with Dikembe Mutombo because of his father. So some really good things coming out. I know, really sad, but definitely some fun stories coming out today about Dikembe Mutombo. But let me set up today's show before we get to top and not top story of the day. 3:30, Jonah Dillon, the Tiger football beat writer over at the Commercial Appeal. He'll join us, talk about the Tigers' win over Middle Tennessee, what he saw, what stood out to him. Now, Tigers with an off week before they get back into conference play. 3:45, we'll take a look at the National College Football Weekend. Some really, really fun games when it came to some top 25 matchups that we'll get to. 4 o'clock, David Cobb from CBS Sports join us, talk a ton of college football, what he saw over the weekend, and maybe preview a couple of the games for this week. And 4:30, we'll get to our Sissy's Log Cabin, look back at the weekend in the SEC. 4:45, big number of the day. 5 o'clock, Rob Fisher will join us to talk Grizzlies Media Day, everything he heard, his takeaways, what he expects to see in camp, preseason, everything. We'll get to that with Rob Fisher. 5:30, we'll get to our Monday Night Football pick and preview, and also our big 4 running backs among the 4 teams that are playing tonight, because we have another Monday night where we have 2 games. 6:30, Titans at Miami. That game will be on ESPN. And 7:15, Seahawks at Lions will be on ABC. That second game, the 7:15 one, we'll have coverage of that game starting at 7. So you can listen to it right here on Sports 56. Then at 5:45, we'll wrap up today's show like we always do with Crunch Time. Let me remind you, we're in our Family Leisure Studios where family and fun come together. Get over there for the world's biggest spa sale going on now at Family Leisure. Save thousands on in-stock hot tubs ready for delivery. Spas starting at $28.99. Cold plunges starting at $39.99. Swim spas at $17,499. Special financing, it's available. And don't forget about the huge discounts on all in-stock above-ground pools too, and all patio furniture. It's priced to move. So head over to Family Leisure, 2120 Witten Road, just north of I-40.
Final day of September, Monday, September 30th, 2024 edition of Sports Time, produced by Darian Newsom. We are with you until 6 o'clock, and we want you to be a part of our show by texting or calling 901-360-8255. That's the Sissy's Log Cabin text and talk line. All our guests will appear on the same number, 901-360-8255 at the Sissy's Log Cabin guest line. we're always in our Family Leisure studios, and we're always brought to you in this first hour every day by our title sponsor of the first hour. That's the great people at Lexus of Memphis at 2600 Ridgeway and online at lexusofmemphis.com. Great offers on all 2024 and the 2025 models that are starting to arrive, and always special leasing options. Drive in luxury and confidence knowing that every new Lexus comes with complimentary first and second maintenance services. Call them at 901-334-9673, but stop by the one and only Lexus dealership in town at 2600 Ridgeway and put yourself in the driver's seat of the all-new 2024 flagship LS 500 or that sleek 2025, and you'll be looking and driving in style. When you purchase a Lexus, you get top-of-the-line engineering and design, and they make for the luxury driving experience. Online at lexusofmemphis.com. Experience amazing at Lexus of Memphis.
Top story of the day.
Well, my top story of the day has got to be the rare regular season doubleheader after the regular season is over. The Braves and the Mets playing two today. There were some scenarios yesterday that, depending on who won, who lost yesterday, that these games would not be played today. Jeff Passan tweeted out a big tweet yesterday morning with all of the scenarios of what would happen, and if this team won and this team lost and this team won, then there'd be no game tomorrow and whatever. It was, I think, 8 different scenarios of how yesterday played out. Well, we saw how yesterday played out. The Mets got to win, the D-backs got to win, the Braves took a loss, and so now they had to play both games today, because there were some scenarios where you just play one, see what happened in the first one. If this happened in the first one, you wouldn't have to play the second one, but instead they have to play 2 today. The Mets, they won the first one just a couple of minutes ago. We got that final score, so they're in. They don't have to worry about anything now. The Braves, who it's been a wild season for them, all of the injuries they've had from the beginning of the season on, they're still fighting and they're still right there in that mix, but now it all comes to one game. They win, they're in. They lose, the Arizona Diamondbacks will be in, and now these teams have to turn around right after playing a doubleheader and go to that wild card destination and kick off the wild card tomorrow. So it's not going to be easy for the Mets or the Braves, but if I had to guess, I would say the Braves come out here in the second one and win. I don't think the Mets will have very much motivation to play very hard in this second game. So I think the two teams we're watching today are going to be the two teams in the wild card. But like I said, it's not going to be easy. And now a decision to make. I don't know if it's been announced yet, but who do the Braves go to in game 2? They've been trying to save sail for if they get to the wild card, but now you're in a must-win game to even make the wild card. So it'll be really interesting to see what the Braves do with the pitching rotation starting in game 2.
15 runs scored in that 8-7 final for the Mets. 10 in the 8th inning alone.
Crazy.
Boy, if anybody had to bet the high in the 8th inning,
man, good for you.
You walked away with the cash in an early afternoon way. My top story, Tim Burr for Ole Miss from the rankings, which that wasn't as big a fall as I thought it would and really should have been. Jackson Dart's Heisman Trophy odds, playoff projections, the summer of love came to a crashing end on the last Saturday in September in Oxford at Vaught Hemingway on Saturday afternoon. The 4 cream puffs didn't prepare them for Kentucky's physicality, but you're just simply not a playoff team if you lose at home to Kentucky. Kentucky was way better and deserved to win, but this was the worst SEC home loss ever. I know some are already saying LSU the year Eli got stumbled and going back to back. LSU went on and won the national championship that year. Ole Miss went on to the Cotton Bowl. Some are saying Hunter Henry for Arkansas. Ole Miss went on and went to a Sugar Bowl that year. Tell me what Kentucky's going to do the rest of this year. Win 7, win 8 maybe.
Yeah.
The rest of the schedule looks like a bunch of toss-up games to me, and whenever the next loss occurs, whenever that is, you have to start worrying about this portal-heavy team staying really engaged.
Not top story of the day.
It's a good observation. When you build out of the transfer portal, sometimes that chemistry, it's hard to solidify in just one offseason. My not top story of the day, Tigers, they got back to their winning ways on Saturday, a Saturday night game against Middle Tennessee. It was a sloppy game back and forth between the two teams. Neither team really came out hot. Both teams, swapped punts in their first drives, but Memphis' defense defense looked much better than they did against Navy. Navy's offense, I get it, it's different, throws a lot at you. That option attack is very unique, but they still had a lot of issues a week ago. And so I was curious, how would they come out in this game? And they came out strong. When you look at Middle Tennessee's first 3 drives of the game, it was a drive for -6 yards, a drive for 6 yards, and a drive for 80 yards that was finished with a fumble that was recovered by Memphis. On the offensive side, they played okay, but it was really a defensive game. You had Elijah Herring return, who's missed the last 2 games. He led the team with 10 tackles, including 1.5 sacks and 2.5 tackles for loss. So I thought the defense looked much better against this Middle Tennessee team, but injuries are back. Brandon Thomas had to leave during the game with a leg injury. He did come back and run for another 10 yards, but something to keep an eye on with this running back room that just continues to take hits throughout the season.
It sure has. My not top story, old boss, meet the new boss. Bama beats Kirby Smart again. Now 1-6 versus Alabama as head coach at Georgia. That won him a national title. I guess you'd probably take that in arithmetic, but he's now 0-1 against, as he's being called around Tuscaloosa, Kalen DeBear.
Whoa!
See what I did there?
Wow! I like
up 28-0 and 30-7. Bama had to come back and hold on to beat Georgia on an all-time Saturday night game in Titletown. The Super Bowl. Look, they always have, the Super Bowl always has, they have all the eyes on it, but all that promotion is very manufactured.
Sure.
That Saturday night scene set in Tuscaloosa, Super Bowl would kill to have that.
Oh, man.
They would love to have that set up. It was perfect, and now I think there are 4 from the SEC that right now would go to a college football playoff: Bama, Texas, Georgia, and Tennessee. A lot of football left to play, and I don't think there's any way a 2-loss team from the SEC in the regular season gets a playoff bid.
Yeah, it's gonna be interesting to see how it all falls. But man, that game between Alabama and Georgia, that was a lot of fun to watch. That'll do it for top and not top story of the day. ESPN is saying Mets Braves game 2 first pitch 3:50 Central. So here in about 20 minutes or so, we'll get first pitch for game 2. But let's go ahead and get to our first break. And when we come back, we're talking Tiger football with Jonah Dillon.
Add a little fun to your lunch break. Join Johnny Radio for Sports 56 Happy Hour from 11 to 1 every weekday on Sports 56 and 98.5 FM.
I think a lot about golf, and when I think golf, I think Miramichi. Did you know Miramichi Golf Course offers membership? It's a great way to play more golf for less out of pocket. Their memberships run for $300 a month plus tax, and that includes unlimited rounds and range balls, no extra card fees, priority tee time booking, and discounts in the pro shop. Oh, by the way, there's no initiation fee. Miramichi green fees, they'll allow you to choose the right rate at the right time on the right day for your needs. If morning tee times are more important, you can book up to 14 days ahead of time to reserve your spot. If rate is more important to you, there are discounted evening rates available that you can choose from. You'll find the lowest rates on Tuesday through Thursday afternoons. Sometimes you just need to escape the hustle and bustle of life. Miramichi Golf Course provides just the right place to solve that need. The name Miramichi means place of happy retreat. When you need a quiet, peaceful round of golf, please make your way to Miramichi.
It's football season and nothing goes better with Game Time Eats than chicken wings. It's a tradition like no other, but not just any wings, it's the seasoning that makes the chicken wing. And nobody does it better than the Crazy Coop at 7199 Stage Road west of Appling and soon coming to downtown Memphis. Over 32 mouth-watering secret sauces and counting, like the jalapeno cheddar and the barbecue bacon bourbon. And don't bother asking them for the secret recipes. No matter how large your tailgating is or the family at home, kick off your game day with Crazy Coop party packs plus special bulk prices. Visit crazycoopstage.com to customize your wings and sauces. Whole wings, boneless wings. Try the Crazy Hot Suicide if you dare. Add Parmesan fries and fried dill pickles. And don't forget the carrots and celery sticks. For the full menu, which includes juicy burgers, catfish fillets, chicken nuggies, and crazy kid meals, go to crazycoopstage.com. That's crazycoopstage.com. You'd be crazy not to visit the Coop.
Hi, Hi, this is Troy Fiveash, owner of Fiveash Roofing. In these uncertain economic times, there are so many things as a contractor and a business owner that I cannot control. The rising cost of materials, not to mention fuel and transportation costs. In the last 2 years, shingle prices have almost doubled, and commercial materials have doubled. And I don't have to tell you what fuel costs these days. But you know what I can control? How much markup I put on a project. I have always prided myself in knowing I never gouge a customer. But in an effort to ensure my crews have work and my customers are being treated fairly, I have lowered my profit margin, hoping to give you a price you can live with and keeping my crews busy. So if you need a roof or gutters, please give us a call. Five Ash Roofing, fair, honest, and ethical. Five Ash Roofing, a proud sponsor of Tiger Athletics and a member of the Tigers home team. 367-0050 or MemphisRoofer.com. 367-0050 or MemphisRoofer.com.
Gain a global perspective and specialized skills that many of today's top employers are seeking with an MBA from University of Maryland Global Campus. Study online and complete your degree in just 16 months for about $21K. Choose from MBA specializations in global business, marketing, HR, finance, and more. Classes start October 16th. Learn more at umgc.edu. Certified to operate in Virginia by Chev.
Salesman is still going strong and Gossip Chrysler about to keep Randy out on the mic, and I got Rock and Ronnie ready to make your day.
Check this out, Randy. New 2023 Dodge Charger SXT, $27,499, over $10,000 off MSRP.
Hey, Ronnie, what about Renegade?
New 2023 Jeep Renegade, $27,499 or $319 a month.
Hey, Ronnie, tell them about that deal on Gladiator.
2024 Jeep Gladiator, over $7,000 off and 0% for 36 months available.
Don't forget about that Ram truck deal.
2025 Ram Traceman, over $6,000 off MSRP.
Rock and Ronnie says try it. That's the rest of it. Come to the best and Gossip Chrysler Jeep out to empty out on the bike. Online at GossipMotorCars.net.
Kevin Harlan from Monday Night Football on Westwood One. We'll have great matchups all season long on the road to the playoffs and Super Bowl 59 in New Orleans. Join Hall of Fame quarterback Kurt Warner and me for one of the NFL's great traditions, Monday Night Football on Westwood One.
Right here on Sports 56.
All right, gentlemen, this is Emmett Smith on behalf of Depend, and I've got the perfect play. Run straight to your doctor's office for a life-changing gift, because when prostate cancer is caught early, it's up to 99% treatable, and one blood test might be all it takes. And now through November, Depend is donating to the Prostate Cancer Foundation for select purchases. Talk about a great play.
From September 1st to November 30th, Depend is donating 30 cents to the Prostate Cancer Foundation for Depend Shield Yards vehicle products purchased in the U.S. up to a maximum of $400,000 void in Mississippi.
O'Reilly. It's Superstart Battery Month at O'Reilly Auto Parts. Get up to a $25 gift card after rebate with the purchase of select Superstart batteries. We'll test your old battery for free and recommend the right battery for your vehicle. For power, performance, and reliability, choose Superstart batteries only at O'Reilly Auto Parts.
O'Reilly Auto Parts.
Listen each and every Sunday morning at 10 a.m. and join Ottawa Presbyterian Church for worship. Ottawa is an ACUSA church located in Midtown Memphis. Now back to Sports Time on Sports 56 and 98.5 FM. This hour is brought to you by Lexus Supremacy. Here are your hosts, Brett Stack, Sportsworthy, and Brian Gates.
Welcome back into Sports Time. Brian and Brett with you in our Family Leisure Studios, and joining us now to talk some Tiger football. Jonah Dillon, the Tiger football beat writer for the Commercial Appeal, joins us now. Jonah, thanks so much for joining us. Going back to that game against Middle Tennessee, I think a lot of people had questions about what the defense would look like after what they did against Navy. Defense looked much better against Middle Tennessee, especially early. I was talking about those first 3 drives of the game. You hold them for -6 yards, 6 yards, and then you force a fumble on the 3rd possession. What did you see from the defense in that outing against Middle Tennessee on Saturday?
Yeah, definitely a bounce-back performance after, like you said, what happened against Navy, because that was not what we've seen the rest of the season so far from that unit. And once again, they pretty much controlled the game. And, look, I talked about it after the game. Basically, for better or for worse, after every game this season, we've been talking about the defense, which is a huge turnaround because last season, the time we talked about the defense was, another game where they allowed a bunch of points. So it was an important bounce-back. It was kind of a weird game, obviously, and then the turnovers, that first one was really tough for Middle Tennessee because you fumble the ball to the end zone, you lose it, and then the Kobe Minor hit and the sack fumble on that play, which was clearly the play of the game. That changed everything. That gave Memphis momentum, and then once they went ahead, it was always like they were gonna pull it out.
Jonah, it felt like that kind of game was a little bit coming after all the build-up of FSU, the heartbreak at Navy. Now survive that into the open date next week on the road on a Friday night against USF. Where do you think this team is psychologically, the mindset, the confidence of this team? Because we know around college football, the one loss can really derail you. And I think for most everybody, if you on that second loss, season's over.
Yeah, well, I think having a game, like if you'd gone into the bye week after the Navy game, I think it would have been really tough because then you've got to really figure things out in a short period of time. And it's never good when you have that much time to kind of stew on a loss, especially the way that they lost that game. So I think getting to play this game against Middle Tennessee, get a win under your belt and some momentum back going into conference play, going into the bye was important. But at the same time, that team, obviously they're in a rebuilding year, and we've seen what happened to them in the games before that. They had been blown out 3 games in a row before they played Memphis. And so obviously we weren't really expecting that to be a super competitive game. You look at South Florida, there's reasons to be concerned about things that team can do. They've struggled, and they have some pretty clear issues. But that's going to be a much bigger test for Memphis. That's going to be basically a must-win game. Whoever loses that game is going to be out of the conference title picture. And so now you've got 2 weeks to regroup, a little bit of positive momentum, and then understand that you've got a really big game coming up, and you have to do it on the road, obviously, against South Florida.
Yeah. I think one of the kind of hold-your-breath moments of the game against Middle Tennessee, maybe the only hold-your-breath moment, was when Brandon Thomas went down with a leg injury. He went out and then was able to come back at the end of the game. But this is a running back group where it feels like we have to talk about it every single week because of the injuries. What kind of update? Do you have an update you can share about the health of Brandon Thomas?
Yes, it seems like he avoided a major injury, which, like you said, when he first went down, it looked pretty bad because he was down, tried to get up, went back down, and then really couldn't put any pressure on him when he was going off the field. So it was pretty surprising, honestly, to see him come back in the game later and then score a touchdown and looked pretty good. And like you said, they're at a point now with the running back injuries to Sutton Smith and Greg DeRosier where if they lose one more guy, then they need to make serious changes because Mario Anderson had a lot of touches in that game. And look, they're obviously happy with him, and he's shown that he can handle that kind of a workload. But you're going to need multiple backs, especially with the way that Memphis has been playing and the way that they've been running the ball successfully, especially in the past couple games. So it looks like Brandon Thomas will be good to go. It looks like everybody who was hurt or who had been hurt, obviously Greg DeRosier is still likely to be out for a little bit longer, and Sutton Smith obviously out for the year. Davion Ross went out, who's a cornerback, went out with an injury, but Ryan Silverfield said that he expects him to be back for the South Florida game. And then obviously on the defensive side, Elijah Herring, who had missed 2 games, came back and looked just like he had earlier in the season, which is really huge for that defense. His tackling ability was sorely missed against Navy, and he's going to be one of their most important players.
How do you think Seth Hennigan is progressing?
Yeah, it's a good question because you look at this team, and it kind of goes back to what I was saying before. Like, we're talking about the defense so much, and rightfully so with what they've been doing. But if you go back to the offseason, all the talk was about Seth Hennigan and these receivers are coming back, and that's going to be the thing that drives this team maybe to the college football playoff. He hasn't played bad. I don't think it's like, I see some people saying like, oh, Seth is regressing. Like, I don't really see that. I think it looks to me like there are a lot of plays that Memphis has had for whatever reason that are a few feet or a few inches off. You go back to the game on Saturday, Rock Taylor and Kobe Drake both on different plays had their hands on a ball in the end zone, and both didn't come down with it. Now, Brian Silva called those drops. I think they were both tough plays, where you're going up and it's a contested catch. But it's a lot of plays that it looks like somebody's open or there's a half step and they don't make it happen. Some of those plays were made last year, and some of them you expected to be made this year because they've brought back so many of these receivers. The tight ends have stepped up. They've been really good in the passing game. But to me, the stat that's standing out is Rock Taylor had a touchdown catch against Navy. That's the only touchdown catch by a receiver this entire season. And that's pretty surprising given what we expected from this team and the points that they can put up. And so it's possible that this team is just going to be a defensive identity. They're going to win by holding teams to 7, 12 points, something like that. But again, that's surprising just given what we've seen the past couple of years from this program.
Yeah, it absolutely is. And Saturday, the first game, Seth hasn't thrown a touchdown in, which was also hard to believe. Ryan Silverfield also said today while y'all were speaking with him that he hates bye weeks. We're finally to the bye week for Memphis. What will this week be? What's the focal point, or what should the focal point during this bye week be for this team as they get ready for really the tough part of their conference slate?
Yeah, well, it's good for Memphis in the sense that South Florida has a really unique offense. I think they're one of, if not the fastest offense in the country in terms of how many plays they run, how quickly they go. And so it's helpful to have extra time to prepare. They'll spend a couple of days practicing like normal this week, and then Ryan Silverfield and the rest of the coaches will go recruiting for the rest of the week, and then come back and then obviously have a short week next week because the game is on a Friday. Yeah. So it's going to be a little bit modified because of that. But I think preparing for that defense, and then going back to the passing game, like you would like to see obviously a little bit more from there. You'll see some more continuity, and if they can get those plays, that's something that you can work on. Let's work on our timing, making sure that we make those catches, and I think they would love to be in a place where they can make explosive plays consistently through the air, because that's something that again we just haven't seen this season yet.
You're right, Jonah. Kind of the theme so far is defense, and you look at in the American Conference, second in points allowed, Memphis Tigers. Second in yards allowed, the Memphis Tigers. I don't know many, even in my rosy summertime scenario of undefeated to this point, probably had that.
Yeah, and that's what's so interesting is even in the Navy game, like the offense actually, that was the best game that they played, right? And yet we still talked about the defense because it was so shocking given how they played the rest of the season. And to me, it's just really interesting. And obviously, look, Ryan Silverfield and the players and the rest of the coaches, they don't care what we're talking about after the game, right? That's not important to them. And so who cares if the defense was the story or not? But I sit there after every game, and the first thing that I'm thinking in terms of storylines is something with the defense. Even on Saturday, it was Kobe Minor's play, because that's what changed the game. The offense scored because they got the ball on the 12-yard line, right? So it's interesting that this identity of the team has shifted so much to the point where they're almost expecting the defense to force turnovers, to push the offenses back, and we're not seeing like we did last year. Think about even in the AutoZone Liberty Bowl, like they come out and just immediately bombing long touchdown passes and just outrunning a team, and that's what they did. Obviously, we'll talk about it next week, but like South Florida, it was 59-50. The defense didn't help them in that game, right? So now we're talking about a team with a defensive identity, and the real thing to watch going forward is if they can get the offense back to how they were playing last season. Then you're in a real position where this team is going to be dominant, especially in this conference, and could be a real legitimate playoff contender.
Yeah. Well, Jonah, glad that the Tigers are back to winning, so we can talk about wins instead of losses. Enjoy your off week, and we'll talk to you again next Monday.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Thanks, Jonah.
Thank you, Jonah.
Jonah Dillon joining us from the Commercial Appeal, the Tiger football beat writer. It's nice to talk after a win instead of what we had to do last week after the loss.
It sure is a get-well win, and now the open date, and after that heartbreak at Annapolis, it almost exactly as you've ordered it. In South Florida, eminently beatable.
Very, very beatable. And I know, we talked about it last week. A lot of people, I'm sure, checking out that game against Tulane on Saturday. It was an 11 a.m. game, and Tulane just was by far the better team. I think USF is certainly beatable. They still have growing pains as Alex Golish is still trying to implement his system down there. I know Byron Brown got a little banged up in that game, and so we'll see what he looks like. He's a great player. He showed it last year. But yes, this USF team is very, very beatable.
Yeah, it is. Our preseason picks through last weekend, here we are. Bryant and Connor tied for first place. AAC experts,
How about that?
both 48-9. That's 842 hit percentage. I'm in third at 47-10, trailed by 1. Darian is 41-16. That's way back because we're going to have a lot of the same picks the rest of the way.
Oh, yeah.
Hold on, there we go. Not bad as a quad, not bad.
Hey, you know,
almost sounded like some experts.
Hey, I mean, I'll take it. I'll certainly
got to
take,
get you an MVP trophy of some sort.
I mean, I
got you. I'm working on that.
Don't mention trophies,
If
man.
I win the AAC picks, I mean, I've got to have some sort of trophy, right? I mean, then I'll just make up for the golf picks, I guess, until next year. But we need to go ahead and get to a break. When we come back, we'll take a look at Saturday, the college football slate, from a national perspective. We'll do that next on Sports Time.
Join the voice of the Tigers, Dave Woloshin, for Wolo and Friends. Weekday mornings from 10 to 11 here on Sports 56 and 98.5 FM.
Guns, and more guns. Over 700 firearms in stock. Home defense guns, old guns, new guns, used guns, big guns, little guns. Every gun you can think of, Classic Arms has them. All brands like Glock, Sig, Colt, Ruger, Smith & Wesson, Browning, Beretta, Benelli, Remington, Winchester, and more. Guaranteed lowest prices in town. Only gun importer in the Mid-South. Free gun inspections and appraisals and free bore sighting for the upcoming deer season. Shop online at ClassicArmsOfMemphis.com or visit Classic Arms at 1740 Germantown Parkway behind Quirky's Barbecue in Cordova.
Summer's heating up, and so are the savings at Choate's. We've got 3 incredible offers to make your season spectacular. First up, our Grill and Chill with Choate's Summer Special. Upgrade your HVAC system and choose between a free Yeti cooler or a Green Egg grill on select systems. Then power through any outage with Choate's generators. Be one of the first 50 customers to buy a generator and score a massive 75-inch TV or an iPad. Also, don't forget about our tankless water heater offer. Purchase a tankless water heater from Choate's and receive a premium toilet free. Don't wait. These offers are too good to last. Turn to the experts with Choate's and call 347-8086 or visit us online today for your free estimate. Now introducing Choate's air conditioning, heating, plumbing, and generators. Choate's, let our family serve your family.
Mitsubishi's final days of summer sales event is about to be gone, so you better hurry to Gossett Mitsubishi on the Pike. Get 42 MPG Highway and 2024 Mitsubishi Mirage, $17,930 or $299 a month. 2024 Mitsubishi Eclipse Cross, we Gossett at $27,245 or $349 a month. And get 420 total range MPGE and 2024 Outlander PHEV, $32,750 or $390 a month. Plus, you'll never go wrong with Mitsubishi's 10-year, 100,000-mile powertrain limited warranty. Get to Gossett Mitsubishi today at 1870 Covington Pike and 24/7 at MemphisMitsubishi.com. That's Gossett Mitsubishi on the Pike.
If you want it, we got it at Gossett Motor Cars.
14,767, MSRP 18,430, Eclipse RZO 65,450, MSRP 28,745, PHEV RZO 66681, MSRP 42,750, includes all rebates and incentives, $1,095 acquisition fee, 25 cents per mile, excess wear and tear, includes all rebates and incentives, PF 695, excludes tax, title, and license. See dealer for complete details. Offer valid through end of the month with approved credit dealer stock only.
If you need glass replaced, there's only one name you need to know. Benswinger Glass, the largest full-service glass company in the U.S. They've been an industry leader for over 145 years. For all your residential, commercial, or auto glass needs, Benswinger Glass is the name you need to know. 24-hour emergency service for all commercial customers, plus a nationwide warranty on all professionally installed glass. Visit Benswinger Glass in Midtown at 340 South Hollywood, across from the Liberty Bowl. Visit BenswingerGlass.com. Benswinger Glass.
Now back to Sports Time on Sports 56 and 98.5 FM. This hour is brought to you by Lexus of Memphis. Here are your hosts, Brett Stacks, Norsworthy, and Brian Davis.
Welcome back into Sports Time. Bryant and Brett with you in our Family Leisure Studios. We're going to talk more of the national headlines from the college football weekend. But before we do that, this game, I mentioned it, about a 3:50 first pitch is what ESPN said. But the big news before this game, and I said, I wonder what the Braves are going to do in terms of pitching. Chris Sale has been scratched from the second game with back spasms, which I don't know.
Come on now.
I don't know what I think about it.
No, it's going around. There may be something even more wrong with him physically.
Sounds like positioning.
Yeah.
I have my doubts when it comes to this, but Grant Holmes is going to start for the Braves in what is now a must-win game for Atlanta if they want to stay in the playoffs.
Well, you have to have everybody available.
Exactly.
I mean, everybody get loose.
That's right. Yeah, I mean, you got to go, but I think there might be. I would not be surprised if there was some, behind the scenes handshakes, slaps on the back between the Mets and the Braves. Of hey, we don't really want to be here. Let's y'all. You win one, we'll win one. We'll figure this out.
And both have to travel.
That's right. Yes, both.
And get somewhere in the next 24 hours and be ready to play.
Yeah, both these teams want this to be a quick game so they can get done, celebrate, do everything they got to do because they got to hop on a plane and go, and they still don't know where they're going to go, I guess.
And tomorrow, 4 games, both of the American League games, since everything is settled there, will be the afternoon menu, and the National League game, since it's still unsettled, will be at night.
We'll settle it here in a couple hours, Brett, but no, a wild end to the season in Major League Baseball. This is honestly insane. But going back over to college football, I thought really fun weekend of games. What jumped out to you, Brett, in terms of kind of the national scope?
Not the other than Kentucky upset over Ole Miss. Not many more upsets. Right. A couple of close calls. A couple of scares. Penn State. They won by 2 touchdowns over Illinois, but the point spread was a lot bigger than that. The big game, Alabama and Georgia just blocked out everything. Notre Dame, scary at home. So I'm hearing this. I believe in the first one. If you got down to the end of the year and you had a 2-loss Notre Dame and a 2-loss Ole Miss, which one would you take? A 10-2 Notre Dame that presumably will lose to USC, and a 10-2 Ole Miss that lost to, say, Kentucky and Georgia?
I'd probably take Ole Miss.
I would too. This person was making the case that it should be Notre Dame in. Well, while Kentucky was 16-point home favorite again, over Northern Illinois.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
Now, I think right now any playoff talk around Ole Miss is simply preposterous until they win 4 or 5 games in a row before hosting Georgia at home November 9th.
Yeah, that's right. But, yes, I think no matter how how it shakes out for Ole Miss, I guess we'll see. But no matter what, Notre Dame dropped a big one at home to a Group of 5 team.
28-point favorite.
Exactly.
At home.
So, I just think that's got to come into play. I don't know how much of this you saw, Brett, but the ending of the Virginia Tech-Miami game, this goes all the way back to Friday night. Yeah. What a wild end to that one.
I think they got it right.
Yes.
But it also buries the whole play on the field. They don't want to, the longer you look at it, they're not going to overturn it because it's not conclusive.
Sure.
That was not conclusive. No. I do think it was correct, and I don't think it's any ACC thumb on the scales to get Miami in.
No. I was telling somebody yesterday that the whole time watching it, I thought it was incomplete. And then when they ruled on the field, touchdown, and then they said, we're going to review it, I said, oh, no. Virginia Tech's going to win this game because I don't think there's enough on video to overturn that call and call it incomplete. And then they ended up doing it. But I thought at that moment, and Darren and I talked about this earlier, you got to call it incomplete. and then you can go back and look at it. But I thought the initial call should have been incomplete.
But it was so fast.
It was so fast.
It was so fast.
So crowded.
It was very crowded.
Where's the ball?
Exactly.
Where's the end line?
And then the ball comes out. Now Miami has it. I mean,
So both teams would have had the same beef depending on the call. Because it was so fast. It was inconclusive in real time. Yeah.
But in the end, we want it right, don't we?
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I think they got it right.
I think they got it right. I thought it was an incomplete incomplete the whole time. So I was happy when they ruled. Not that I didn't really care who won, but
Virginia Tech shouldn't have been in that position.
No, they shouldn't have.
Why don't you just kick the field goal and go up more?
Yeah, and now I would have loved. And I only thought about this morning. I would have loved nothing more than Virginia Tech to have won that game. And I wish I had thought of this Friday. I would have been rooting way harder for them, because then Virginia Tech, no matter whatever happens the rest of the season, they could say we lost to Vanderbilt, but also beat Miami in the same year, in a year Miami has very high hopes for the season. That would have been hilarious to me.
The FSU demise continues. And at the same time, the same track of going one way for FSU, by the way, kind of quietly, look what Clemson's done since that opening game loss to Georgia.
Yeah, no, they've looked really good. And
Clemson and FSU meet this week.
That's right. That's things can only get worse, I think, for Florida State. But no, Clemson played really well, and even that game against Georgia put it on them in the second half. But early, I thought Clemson did some nice things, and certainly they've built off that throughout the season. But you're right, Florida State. Oh man, 42-16 loss to SMU. Now I think SMU is getting better, and I think they're a fine team. And certainly with their loss to BYU, I think we're learning every day BYU is a better team than maybe we thought they were before the season started. But man, Florida State, you look up, you're 1-4, and now you gotta go play Clemson. I'm not jealous of them, I can tell you that much.
And at that second loss, those heavy portal influenced teams, the chemistry can go a lot of directions.
Yep, and especially when it happens so early, like it did with Florida State. I mean, it was week 1, literally, because they played in week 0. And so,
And just being sealed now.
Exactly.
Before we get out, can I ask you both a 2-part quick question?
Sure.
Ryan Williams, his performance as a freshman, your thoughts on that, and the much ballyhooed kill 'em all in eye black. Are you in support of it? Do you not like it? I like it from a wide receiver standpoint, because to keep it in context, he's keeping it on the field, but a lot of people are taking it off the field. So his performance, what do you guys think? Freshman.
He's incredible.
6 catches, 177 yards, average 29.5 per catch.
I know somebody on Friday night's glad they don't have to cover him. And who would?
Tell you what, I mean, imagine lining up in high school against that guy. I mean, please.
Little 5'8" guy out there trying to.
Coach, I'm injured. I got a cramp in my leg or something.
Can't do it.
I'll go over to the sideline for this one. Take me out. That's one of those games where you just say, Coach, I can't do this. You're gonna have to put somebody else out there.
Our good friend Matt Enfield told me on Saturday that kid can play on Sundays next year.
I literally was on the phone with my brother after the game, and I said, you put that guy in this year's draft, he's going early first round. That kid's incredible.
17.
He's insane.
I think he'll be 18 by the draft.
Well, one way or the other, still, I think 17, 18, whatever he is, I think he could be a high draft pick in this draft. That's how good he is. Those plays he was making Saturday night, just incredible. But let's go ahead and wrap up this first hour, and we'll ask David Cobb what he thinks about the 17-year-old star for Alabama and everything else that happened over the weekend.
I think Brett was that good when he was 17. I think Brett was that good.
I wasn't that good when I was 17.
Brett was that good.
I was nowhere close to that good. I've never been that good, anywhere near it, but good for Ryan Williams. I'm glad he's successful at the age of 17. But let's go ahead and get to a break. When we come back, talking college football with David Cobb.
There's an institution in East Memphis that I love talking about. It's the Spirit Shop at 4848 Poplar Avenue, right down the street from Clark Tower, and it looks like a log cabin. It's been around Memphis since 1969 with a family-owned, friendly, knowledgeable sales staff that is just a wonderful place to go. I love going in and talking wine or bourbons, and they've got such great selection. So if you've not visited the Spirit Shop in a while, it's been remodeled. You'll love what you see when you need spirits. Tell Eddie Wollo said hello.
What's your
house slash your office building? Impossible! Not if you call Wilson's Pro Wash. Your house, fence, driveway, warehouse, store, hotel, even cars and trucks can all be squeaky clean and beautiful after pressure washing by Wilson's Pro Wash. Wilson's specializes in cleaning all hard surfaces, concrete, stone, brick, and mortar, even wood and vinyl siding. Then Wilson's can seal their surfaces so they stay looking brand new. Call Wilson's Pro Wash, 901-524-6799, or online at wilsonsprowash.com.
I'm at the movies, asking people if they'll switch seats with me for $574.
Here, take mine.
So what about $574 if you switch your home insurance to Allstate?
Too much work.
Not if you call them. They handle the switching.
Now, that's a plot twist.
Shh. Check Allstate first, and you could save hundreds on quality home insurance today. You're in good hands with Allstate.
Not available in every state. Based on the national average annual savings for new home insurance customers surveyed in 2023 who switched to Allstate and reported savings. Savings vary.
Fall is football at the Owner's Box Sports Bar and Grill in Lakeland, Town Square. Monday through Friday, it's happy hour from 3 to 6 with $1 off all draft meals, $5 off well drinks, $4.50 for house wine, and half off pretzel bites, mozzarella sticks, queso, corn dogs, and pickles. Then Friday night lights from 7 to closing. Dine in and buy 12 wings and get 5 regular wings for free. Come watch college football and every pro game on the weekends. All at the Owner's Box Sports Bar and Grill in Lakeland, Town Square. Highway 70, fall is football.
Mitsubishi's final days of summer sales event is about to be gone, so you better hurry to Gossett Mitsubishi on the Pike. Get 42 MPG Highway and 2024 Mitsubishi Mirage, $17,930 or $299 a month. 2024 Mitsubishi Eclipse Cross, we Gossett at $27,245 or $349 a month. And get 420 total range MPGE and 2024 Outlander PHEV, $32,750 or $390 a month. Plus, you'll never go wrong with Mitsubishi's 10-year, 100,000-mile powertrain limited warranty. Get to Gossett Mitsubishi today at 1870 Covington Pike and 24/7 at memphismitsubishi.com. That's Gossett Mitsubishi on the Pike.
If you want it, we got it at Gossett Motor Cars.
Ratio 14,767, MSRP 18,430, Eclipse RZO 65,450, MSRP 28,745, PHEV RZO 66681, MSRP 42,750, includes all rebates and incentives, $1,095 acquisition fee, 25 cents per mile, excess wear and tear, includes all rebates and incentives, PF 695, excludes tax, title, and license. See dealer for complete details. Offer valid through end of the month with approved credit dealer stock only.
Sports 56, WHBQ Memphis, and W253DF Memphis, with Dave Woloshin, weekday mornings from 10 to 11. Sports 56 traffic.
Good afternoon. Traffic's on the increase out here through the Midtown area. Pretty much on schedule, actually. 240 southbound and South Parkway. Still moving I-40 east from Warford, Hollywood, all the way over to White Station as traffic tries to get a little bit busy in the last 10-15 minutes going outbound on Sam Cooper. Hey, Weiber's Jewelry, serving the Memphis area for well over 40 years. No matter what the occasion is, go by and see them first. You'll save a lot of money at Weiber's Jewelry, 7525 Highway 64. I'm Commander Chuck with your on-time traffic.
Here once again are Brett Mooresworthy and Bryant Dakin.
Welcome back into Sports Time. Bryant and Brett with you in our Family Leisure Studios. Our second hour brought to you every day by Wilson's Pro Wash. Half an inning down in Game 2, 0-0 still for that one. But we got to talk a ton of college football, and there's nobody better to do it with on a Monday afternoon than David Cobb. Let's go ahead and get to David Cobb.
Sports Time is National College Football writer for CBS Sports, Memphis native and Tennessee grad, who you can find on Twitter X at David W. Cobb. It's David Cobb.
David, I'm sorry for not knowing this. Do you have a Major League Baseball team that you root for?
Yeah, I'm kind of the worst type of baseball fan because I'm like split between the Braves and the Cardinals. Just I was kind of born smack in the middle of the two territories, so to speak, there in Memphis, obviously. And then I migrated to the east part of Tennessee, so started to form more loyalty to the Braves. But I did cover the Cardinals for MLB.com in the summer of 2015, so that was pretty cool. But hey, today I guess I'm a Braves fan, although the ending of that first game was just absolutely brutal.
It really was. David, in that year that you covered the Cardinals, did that do anything? Did you see the sausage being made do anything to maybe dull being a fan?
Well, a little bit, because that was the year they ended up under investigation from the FBI because they were allegedly stealing prospect information from other franchises. So that was kind of a wild twist on my summer. I mean, a little bit. You just realize how much of a grind it is in Major League Baseball. And I saw that from a writer's perspective. But then you just get so much respect for the players because, we see them trot out on the field for the beginning of a 3-hour game, but you don't see the hours of film that they pour over, the hours of time they spend in the gauges and in the weight room. And so they basically work 10-plus hour days every day of the week with one day off every couple of weeks. I mean, that's pretty intense and insane. So in some respects, seeing the sausage made, it changed your perspective, but it also gave me a lot more respect for Major League Baseball players.
I like that. Well, Dave, let's get to some of these college football games from over the weekend. I think we've got to start with the massive matchup Saturday night, Georgia and Alabama. I mean, Alabama goes up big early. It felt like they were just going to run away with it. And then here comes Georgia out of nowhere. And then they go back and forth the last couple minutes of the fourth quarter. Alabama gets the win. How big of a win is this for Kalen DeBoer to maybe kind of be able to say, hey, I'm here. This is my team. I don't need to be compared to anybody or people don't need to worry. Alabama's going to be just fine. Picking up a signature win very early in his first year at Alabama.
Yeah. It was just massive, just hard to overstate what it does for Kalen DeBoer and the momentum of that program. And the dominance that they put forth in the first half was unbelievable. I mean, when's the last time Georgia was on its heels like that? I mean, it was just incredible the way Alabama took it to them there early. And then to be able to have the playmakers to go and steal the lead back in the end. I mean, Ryan Williams and Jalen Milroe, those two, oh my goodness, under Kalen DeBoer, that is just nasty, indefensible almost, because if there's anybody in the country I would trust to defend stars like that, it's Georgia and Kirby Smart, and they couldn't get it done with the game on the line. So that was phenomenal. I got the feeling, though, guys, it might not be the last time we see those two collide this season.
It could be a couple matchups with those two. And, David, it feels like we're setting up for an all-time third Saturday in October at Knoxville.
Absolutely. It does, because Tennessee's got its best team yet under Josh Heupel. And before we drive the Tennessee wagon too far in the hype direction, let's take a minute to acknowledge the fact that they do have an SEC road game against a capable opponent this week in Arkansas. And Arkansas is going to be even more desperate coming off of another close loss in league play against Texas A&M. So that's a dangerous sort of trap spot there, and we've seen the local teams kind of fall victim in similar spots because obviously Ole Miss at home versus Kentucky. We saw what happened with Memphis at Navy. And so, it could be a big third Saturday in October. But Tennessee's got some business to handle as well before we get there, before it's a guaranteed, absolute five-star matchup. Tennessee's got to take care of some business.
That was a very General Neal and Johnny Majors comeback. We got 2 Saturdays before we can get to the third Saturday in October.
That's exactly right, though. Coming out of September, you got to feel pretty good if you're a Tennessee fan. But Tennessee fans have seen this sort of song and dance before. I mean, you got to remember they were busting through the ceiling in 22, coming off that big win over Alabama. And they ended up getting tripped up at South Carolina, and that probably cost them a spot in the playoffs. Now, of course, now with the 12-team playoffs, Tennessee can get in with a couple of losses, and so you look at the rest of Tennessee's schedule, and you got Alabama, you got Georgia. So if you take care of business everywhere else, I think the win over Oklahoma will stand up well enough to where Tennessee can get in as a 2-loss team. Obviously, though, you prefer not to go that route. You prefer to win the league and get a bye, or you prefer to be there at 11-1 and get a home field game in the first round. So a lot to play for. The layers and the tiers of the whole playoff thing are interesting there because, yeah, you could get in with 2 losses, but there's a lot to play for besides just merely getting in.
David, let's go national and SEC for these 2 kind of awards for the month of September. Biggest win nationally, biggest win in the SEC for anybody in the month of September. What was it?
Oh, it's Alabama over Georgia. I think you could argue Texas going on the road and beating Michigan so soundly is up there, but Michigan is not nearly as good as Georgia is, not this year. And so for me, even though Alabama was at home, even though they blew that lead, the fact is they built the lead to begin with. And so you got to give them credit for that because
it was 3 games.
Yeah, it was wild. Yeah, you had the first half, then you had the whole Georgia comeback, and then you had the back and forth at the end. It was incredible. So I think Alabama over Georgia stands out to me as the biggest win for anybody in college football so far this season.
Mm-hmm. David, Brett and I were talking about this in the last segment, what Clemson has done since that loss to Georgia, a team that we just talked about. They've been on a win streak. They got a big win, 40-14 over Stanford. And I read something you wrote the other day about still some issues defensively for this Clemson team, especially in that game against Stanford, some missed tackles, things like that. What do you think this Clemson team is?
They are a clear-cut ACC title contender. I mean, that is, you can't take that away from them. Who else in the league right now is playing better? Miami needed a reversed call in the last play of the game to survive Virginia Tech. So that is concerning if you're looking at Miami as the ACC bell cow. And to me, it's pretty clear. Clemson is going to be there at the end with a chance to make the playoffs. So are they a national title contender? No. But they are clearly an SEC title contender or an ACC title contender. And, you know, that's going to be enough to keep the heat off of Dabo. I mean, look at the rest of their schedule. Unless Louisville is able to kind of get off the mat after their ugly performance against Notre Dame, you know, it is kind of a 2-team race in that conference right now between Clemson and Miami.
Yeah, absolutely. And, you know, it's been really fun to watch them. What did you think, speaking of ACC championship contenders, Miami, I think, would probably be in that mix as well. What did you think of the ending of their game against Virginia Tech?
Yeah, it was crazy, right? I mean, what a way to start the weekend.
Yeah.
So they called it after a lot of deliberation, they called it a touchdown on the field. And then I'm not sure what they were looking at to then overturn it. If they had called it an incompletion on the field, it would have been an easy call to uphold. But you couldn't see the football. So you call it a touchdown on the field, but then you can't see the football. I don't know how you overturn it. It was baffling, and I feel sick for Virginia Tech, which, I mean, that team cannot catch a break. They lost a nail-biter in overtime to Vandy to start the season. Then they lost another close game to Rutgers. And now, you know, that was a team a lot of folks had as a darling, a 10-win team, a playoff contender, you know, on. And now they're sitting there at 2-3. And so, I mean, the ACC is kind of in turmoil and in flames at the moment. And you got Duke now sitting there at 5-0 as well. So, man, I am wholly looking forward to Manny Diaz going back to Miami here in about a month.
Yeah.
He just knocked off Mac Brown, his old boss, who, you know, that relationship might not be the best. And now, you know, he might have a squad going down there to play Miami in a few weeks. And if Miami doesn't get some of the turnover stuff cleaned up, I mean, they could be in trouble there too.
Do you do weekly playoff projections?
I do not. Jerry Palm does. So no, I don't.
If you had to do one today, after seeing the month of September, we had all these predictions in the summertime. We've got a pretty good book on people. We've got a month. How many teams out of the SEC do you think are legitimate playoff contenders?
Yeah, I mean, obviously Alabama, Texas, Georgia, Tennessee. I mean, there's 4 right there who are looking really solid for the playoffs. Where it gets interesting for me is with Missouri, because they're still hanging out there in the top 10 of the AP poll. They haven't lost yet, but that schedule makes Missouri so difficult to evaluate relative to everybody else in college football. I mean, Missouri might just be an average team, but it's going to be hard to decipher that because of the weak nature of their schedule. And so, I don't want to make it sound like they don't play anybody. Eventually, they got to go play Alabama and Tuscaloosa, right? But on the whole, they don't play any of the other teams that I mentioned. So it's hard to say with Missouri. I think I'm going to have to see Missouri at 11-1, but before I can confidently say that they are a playoff team. So 4 guaranteed from the SEC, but I'll leave the door open for a 5th in Missouri. Well, maybe that 5th team ends up being Ole Miss. Maybe.
When speaking of Ole Miss, they take the loss to Kentucky at home on Saturday. What was your takeaway from that game? We talked about it a lot to start the show, but I don't think many people expected to see that.
Yeah, I mean, one takeaway is that Kentucky's defensive line is really, really good. Georgia could vouch for that. They couldn't run the ball against Kentucky either. They were lucky to beat Kentucky. And then the difference between Kentucky losing to Georgia and then turning around and beating Ole Miss is Mark Stoops actually being willing to take a chance on 4th down, because he wouldn't do it against Georgia. His defense couldn't get off the field, and then they lost the game as a result. But in a far less desirable 4th down and under similar circumstances on the road against Ole Miss, he rolls the dice and goes for it on 4th and 7. Brock Vandegrift throws up a prayer that Barryon Brown answers for a 63-yard gain. And so sometimes it's as simple as that. You're willing to take a chance, and it pays off. And so that was, to me, the difference in the way that game was decided. But the difference in the game over the course of 60 minutes was just Kentucky's ability to control time of possession and keep Ole Miss off the field, pretty much doubling up the Rebels in terms of time of possession. And, I mean, that's the best way to beat a Lane Kiffin coach team, is just to not let them have the football. And then that's going to help you ensure that you're there with a shot at the end. That was the case for Kentucky, and then the shot went their way.
It was a Mark Stoops day. He really had a great plan. The execution, it was even better. The 2 inside players for Kentucky, if you had those guys and the 2 edge rushers that South Carolina that they have, you would have the best front in college football.
Yeah, what Kentucky's got is filthy. I mean, Walker and Weaver, and they're pretty nasty up there on the defensive front, and they got some depth too that you don't always see from those mid-tier SEC teams. And so, yeah, the offense for Kentucky is not very good, but when Mark Stoops is willing to scheme around the deficiencies there on the offense, then it gives them a chance. And so that was a great game plan. I mean, it's kind of what Kentucky's got to do. It's what a lot of these teams have to do that don't have the high caliber skill talent that the best teams in the country do. Is you got to milk the clock. You got to have a low possession type of game. And here we are again with Kentucky headed towards 7-5 or 8-4 or something like that. And it's a credit to them though, because I mean I think the stat after the game was it's their highest win over, or their first win over a team ranked that high since Jimmy Carter's administration or something.
77. So, beat Penn State at Penn State.
It's a big win.
Frank
for
Hershey.
Kentucky. And then if you're Ole Miss, it's like, where do we go from here? It's deflating because you just had a cakewalk of a non-con leading into SEC play, and now all of a sudden you got to go to South Carolina, you got to go to Death Valley. It just takes the wind right out of their sails, and we talked about it, but their margin for error is not great. They could absolutely get it back on track. Not putting it past them for a second, but that margin for error has reduced dramatically.
But how do you let Barryon Brown run a go route and get behind you on 4th and whatever on their end of the field? That's just inexcusable.
He's their one guy who can take the top off of the defense. And, throughout that ball game, it was Dane Key who was making those physical receptions. And he's more that possession receiver, that physical type of target. And Vandegrift found him over the middle quite a bit. And, I guess in this circumstance, you're looking to take that away. And Barryon Brown's a very hit or miss type of player. And, it wasn't even a great throw. I mean, it was he didn't necessarily hit him in stride, but that was a prayer that got answered for Mark Stoops, and it surely some positive reinforcement for him to say, hey, look, maybe sometimes we need to roll the dice and be aggressive and go for it, because he could have chosen to punt there and tried to get the football back, but he went with the aggressive approach, and it paid off.
Yeah. Talking to David Cobb, he joins us every Monday, talk college football and college basketball from CBS Sports. Dave, we haven't talked to you since the situation that went down at UNLV with Matthew Sluka. He left the team after a 3-0 start, the starting quarterback, because of NIL disputes. And I was actually really excited, not that he left, but because UNLV brought in 2 FCS quarterbacks through the transfer portal last offseason. So Haj Malik Williams, who came from Campbell, made the start this weekend for UNLV, and they got a big win over Fresno State. What do you make of this whole situation with Matthew Sluka and where UNLV is at right now? Obviously, going into the weekend 3-0, a lot of people talking about them being a real player for that group of 5 spot, and now turning to the backup quarterback.
Yeah, it turns out he's a pretty good player himself. Yeah. He was really dynamic. So Matthew Sluka was really just a run-first quarterback. Really can't throw the football particularly well. Haj Malik Williams comes in there. He keeps up the running. He's over 100 yards rushing on the day. And then he also is able to sling it around and have some juice added to that passing game for UNLV. And then UNLV is a complete team. They also kicked the crap out of Fresno State with their defense, and their special teams made some big-time, game-changing, field-flipping sort of plays in that game. So I'm looking at UNLV in a different light now because, one, their defense and their special teams are special. And then, two, now they have a quarterback who opens up the playbook for them, and it's going to allow them to throw the football a little bit, which will keep the opponents from packing the box against the run. And so you put all that together, and now it's kind of clear why they weren't willing to find $100,000. Because, I mean, you had people stepping up. You had Circa Casino or whatever saying, we'll pay $100K for the guy. But if you're Barry Odom in that staff, your backup is just as good. You don't have just a ton of money laying around like some of these Power 5 programs do. So, they could have avoided that ugly headline by just finding the money to keep Matthew Sluka happy. But when you got a backup who's just as good or better, one, you maybe should have been playing him all along. And then two, it's not worth going to find the money. Hey, look, I'm not saying that UNLV was in the right here. I'm not saying that their assistant coach made a promise that that he couldn't keep or whatever. But as bad as it looks for them on the field, I think they're going to be just fine.
David, I made a point to watch Hugh Freeze post-game press conference after the loss to Oklahoma, and I didn't hear any of the Auburn beat guys ask him how he thought they would do in the next 9 against Oklahoma.
That's right. Yeah, exactly right. Yeah, play that 9 more times. How's it play out? No, he still can't keep his foot out of his mouth, though. It's going to get ugly there for him at Auburn. And the only saving grace right now for Hugh Freeze, and the only thing that sets him apart from Brian Harsin, is the recruiting rankings. But guys, as great as Auburn's 2025 recruiting class is right now, there still isn't a quarterback in it. So until he gets that position figured out, it's just going to be more of the same for Auburn. Even though Peyton Thorne put up some numbers, he still threw the critical interception with the game on the line. And until they stop turning the football over, they're never going to win. I mean, they are just the king of the self-inflicted wound right now, and it's going to be ugly. That team is not going to a bowl game.
What if they only won one more game the rest of this year?
You can make the case to get rid of him. I don't know what that buyout looks like exactly. With Harsin, they tried to find stuff to fire him with cause. I mean, I just don't think you can do that back-to-back coaches and be looked at with any morsel of respect within the industry. But I mean, just look at what they got coming up. I mean, they're at Georgia, they're at Missouri. They got to go to Lexington. They close obviously with the Iron Bowl. I mean, it's they got Louisiana Monroe out there, which will be an easy win. That'll guarantee that they get to 3. But I'm not even willing to look at Vanderbilt right now and say, oh yeah, Auburn's going to win that one. I mean, they should. It's at home, but
Diego Pavia looks like Patrick Mahomes compared to Michael Hawkins for OU.
He does. They should have gone out and gotten somebody from the portal. If Vanderbilt can get a game changer at quarterback from the portal, with their broken IL collective, then surely Auburn could have gotten a competent player out of the portal as well. And Hugh Freeze refused to do it. And then what makes it even worse is that he's willing to throw those guys under the bus when he knows good and well that he could have gone out there and made up for it. So it's ugly, and it's only going to get uglier for him. And I don't think he's done a good job of adapting to this new era in college football, because you're supposed to be able to flip a program, especially a program like Auburn, pretty quickly now. He's not flipping it at all. It is just more of the same, like it was under Brian Harsin. I mean, since Gus Malzahn left, that program is sub 500. I mean, this is now 4 years since he's been gone, and that is well below the operating standard at Auburn.
Yeah, it absolutely is. Well, David, your Braves are up 1-0 in the top of the third, so things are looking okay right now, I guess. But thanks again for joining us, and we'll do it again next Monday.
If you're the Mets, why even try?
Oh,
you
exactly.
accomplish
I
what
wouldn't.
you need to accomplish. Yeah. Just let the Braves in. The Braves didn't even start Chris Sale, so it's like, all right, we can do this, right?
Yeah, that's
Thanks,
right.
guys.
Thanks,
David, have a great week. Thank you.
All right.
David Cobb joining us from CBS Sports, where he covers college football and college basketball. Like I mentioned, Braves up 1-0 in the top of the third, able to grab a run in the bottom of the second. Had a couple guys on and left them stranded, so it could have been a bigger lead. But before we go to a break, let me remind you of our great sponsors, Wilson's Pro Wash. Do me a favor. Picture your home beautifully clean and pristine. Does that seem impossible? Not if you call Wilson's Pro Wash. Their Gentle Touch Pro Wash will restore your house, fence, driveway, commercial building, and more to their very best. Wilson specializes in cleaning all hard surfaces, from concrete to stone, brick to mortar, and even wood to vinyl siding. Then Wilson's can seal your surfaces so they stay looking brand new. Wilson's Pro Wash, clean is their mission. They'll wash away everything but your sins. So give them a call at 901-524-6799. That's 901-524-6799, or go online at wilsonsprowash.com.
I may need to get Wilson's Pro Wash to wash away the sin for me.
Oh, man.
It's just what I was thinking and saying after Saturday.
Well, that's what losses do, Brett.
For my sorry old soul.
Unfortunately, I don't think Wilson's Pro Wash can help you with that, but they can help you with a lot of other things.
They sure can. We appreciate it.
Absolutely do. But we need to get to a break, and when we come back, we'll get to our Sissy's Log Cabin, look back at the weekend in the SEC.
Broadcasting from the Family Leisure Studio, we are Sports 56 and 98.5 FM.
You or someone you know or care about has dealt with a difficult divorce. When facing divorce, you need the attorneys at Rice Law. Nick and Larry Rice lead the firm with 3 generations and 7 decades of experience. Located in Memphis, serving the entire state of Tennessee and North Mississippi. Rice Law is who you need to call. Simple or difficult divorce, they know how to handle it. Call Rice Law at 901-526-6701, or for more information, visit them at aboutdivorce.com. That's aboutdivorce.com.
Locally owned and operated for over 40 years, Automatic Gates Construction tailors custom gate solutions for all your residential, commercial, and industrial needs, including repairs, maintenance, and installation. Automatic Gates Construction specializes in designing and installing automatic gates and fencing that seamlessly blends security, functionality, and aesthetic appeal. Elevate the safety and efficiency of your property with a premium gate solution. Automatic Gates Construction at myautomaticgates.com.
Deliberating sales into this new going strong and Gossip Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram Fiat on the line, and I've got Rock and Ronnie ready to make your day.
Check this out, Randy. New 2023 Dodge Charger FXD, $27,499, over $10,000 off MSRP.
Hey, Ronnie, what about Renegade?
New 2023 Jeep Renegade, $27,499 or $319 a month.
Hey, Ronnie, tell them about that deal on Gladiator.
2024 Jeep Gladiator, over $7,000 off and 0% for 36 months
Once in a while, a new concept comes on the scene and really upsets the old school apple carts. Well, that's exactly what Genesis Diamonds has done here in Memphis. Hey, it's Eric Hasseltine, and Genesis Diamonds is a fresh, exciting, revolutionary kind of jewelry store that has forever changed the jewelry landscape here in Memphis. Fall is just around the corner. What better time to make that big purchase than right now at Genesis Diamonds? With up to 30 times what you find at other stores in selection, no middleman prices that we've never seen here before, with natural and lab-grown diamonds in all shapes and sizes, Genesis has something for everyone. Plus, free service for life on any purchase and a 120% diamond upgrade guarantee that no other store would dare to offer. Genesis has turned the old school jewelry retail model upside down with lower margins, higher volume, no tricky pricing, no pressure, and no middleman. Get to Genesis Diamonds today and get that diamond purchase taken care of. This is the value leader, and nobody can challenge them here. Check out Genesis Diamonds at Poplar and Perkins Extended. Genesis Diamonds, the official jeweler of the Tennessee Titans.
Family Leisure is having the world's biggest spa set. It's happening right now. You can save thousands on in-stock hot tubs that are ready to be delivered. Family Leisure has spas that start at just $28.99. You know those cold plunges? You can get one for yourself starting at $39.99. Or how about swim spas? They start at $17,499. Plus, Family Leisure has set up special financing just for this event. Have you been sitting on the fence about an above-ground pool? Get off that fence and get to Family Leisure to take advantage of huge discounts on all their in-stock above-ground pools. And if you need some patio furniture, it's all priced to move out now. It's not too late to have some summer fun, courtesy of Family Leisure. But you better hurry up. The world's biggest spa sale might go on forever. Family Leisure. Wit and Run at I-40. Family and fun come together.
Sports 56 traffic.
Good afternoon. We're seeing a few rain showers out here in certain parts, especially south of Memphis, down through certain parts of DeSoto County. Be careful as you head down the interstate. Starting to build at times over here on 240 East from Mill Branch out to 385 Biltmore's Parkway. Still looks good, actually, all the way out into Collierville. Weimer's Jewelry, 7525 Highway 64 is your full-service, family-owned jewelry store here in Memphis. I'm Commander Chuck with your on-time traffic.
Five, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Time for a look back at the weekend in the SEC. Brought to you by Sissy's Log Cabin, the official jeweler of the Memphis Grizzlies with 9,000 square foot in Laurelwood. Let's go inside the SEC with Bryant and Brett.
Chad Kelly in the gun formation. 3rd and inches for Ole Miss.
Carlton will kick it. It is on the way, and it is up.
Buck Bellew looking at it, going to pitch it to Herschel Walker, try to get him outside. He's going to get 5.
The snap is high. Kelly grabs it, wants to throw, fires it up in the air. Treadwell can't get it.
It is good! Oh, my!
Get a deflection is caught. Deflection is caught. And down the sidelines is Adebayo. He's to the end zone. He's in there. Touchdown, Ole Miss.
He's got 10, 15, 20, 25, 30, 35, 40. He needs a block. There goes Herschel. There goes Herschel.
And you can wrap this one in maroon and white, my friends.
Arkansas is headed to Atlanta. The national champion is clad in big orange.
Voices of SEC football history. Well, Tennessee didn't play this weekend, and the other voices, all their teams lost.
Oh, jeez. Bad omen, I guess.
Ole Miss,
That's right.
Arkansas,
That's right.
Georgia,
That's right.
and Mississippi State.
Holy cow.
Larry Munson, Jack Crystal, David Kellum, and Paul Eels.
Jeez, yeah, that's not good. But not many times that all those teams lose on the same
It's
Saturday.
not. It was one of those weekends. Tennessee did not lose. They did not play.
Yeah, but other than that, I guess a bye is better than a loss. But man, outside of that, good Lord.
It's open date to me.
That's right. Yes,
Bye is a basketball term
that's true,
with a bracket.
Oh yeah.
It started early Saturday morning. Kentucky, they got the win. A game that started early and was going by at a rapid pace until the fourth quarter, and everything that happened in that fourth quarter. Kentucky wins 20-17 over Ole Miss in Oxford. Ole Miss first home loss since the 2022 Egg Bowl to Mississippi State. Missed field goal that would have sent it to overtime. Nobody knows what was going to happen in overtime, and I'm glad that didn't happen to Kentucky. They deserved to win that game. They did not deserve kind of a fluky loss. They've had a lot of those to Ole Miss. And, Brian, I think baseball is the sport where everything over that long haul really evens out. Wouldn't Kentucky do a little bit of those breaks?
Yeah, it felt like it, and they certainly got that break on Saturday with that win. And I thought David said it. I think Kentucky's defense is better than people thought it would be. Certainly, that defensive line's good. I mean, they got 3 sacks on Jackson Dart just in the first half, so they were getting after it. But
couldn't get a playoff.
No. I mean, it just couldn't get anything going. And
had the center in his lap and shotgun.
Oh yeah, I mean it's crazy. And so I thought a impressive performance from Kentucky, but on the other side, just a loss that nobody expected for Ole Miss. I mean, they're big favorites for a reason, and it's it's kind of like the same thing we were talking about with Memphis last week. Is you
exactly.
ask 100 people.
Well, the parallels continue, don't they?
I was just about to say it really does. I mean, for both these teams, you go around and ask 100 people where did the losses come on the schedule. Nobody would have had Navy. Nobody would have had Kentucky.
Not one.
No.
And a difference in the parallels for Memphis, at least that was on the road.
Sure.
For Ole Miss, that was at home with that long streak. What's the prescription for winning on the road? Only 3 penalties for Kentucky, 0 turnovers, 3 of 3 on fourth down.
Get it done.
And it was Brock Vandegrift's best game by far in his Kentucky early career. This week, Kentucky open date, much deserved. Ole Miss on the road at South Carolina. Oklahoma 27-21 on the Plains. Don't know how OU would do in the next 9 against Coach Hugh Freeze, but I don't care. I know how they did on Saturday, and they came back from down 11 with 4:15 to play and leaves Hugh Freeze doubting everything. Michael Hawkins' first college start for Oklahoma and their first road SEC win. That's one they will always remember at a really tough place to play. Auburn outpassed, outrushed, had less penalties, punted fewer times, were better on third down, they were better on fourth down, and still lost.
Yeah.
The voodoo's dead on the Plains.
Yeah, it definitely looks like it. I mean, that was just a heartbreaking loss for Auburn because, I was texting him with a buddy of mine who is an Auburn fan, and, things were looking good. I was like, all right, man, y'all got this one wrapped up. And then I flipped over to something else and was kind of watching a different game, and he texted me. I was like, "Oh no, this is not going well." And I flip back over and see that hey, this is now a ball game. And so Oklahoma did what they needed to do late in the game to get that win. You talk about Peyton Thorne, threw for 338 yards, but
Boomer
Sooner a costly interception got him. And we talk about third downs. I mean, you mentioned it that Auburn was way better on third downs. OU 3 for 11 on third downs, and they still get the win.
You can't win like that at home, much less on the road.
I mean, wild.
Oklahoma opened this week, Auburn at Georgia for the South's oldest rivalry. A&M 21-17. Same story, 19th verse against the Razorbacks in Jerry's World. Just a house of absolute horrors. Our friend Ty Richardson tweeted that series has knocked years off his life. Thank goodness. Move the drill. Never play there against A&M again. Marcel Reed at quarterback for A&M was just a little bit better than Taylor Green. Not a lot. No. It wasn't head and shoulders, but a little better. 10 Razorback penalties. They're a little bit better this year than last year, but it's clear Sam Pittman's never going to win those kind of games. Margin for error is so slim in college football and in the SEC, and Sam Pittman's anything but slim.
Well, yes. But no, you're right. I mean, this team, I think you can say, is definitely a better team than last year's team. And I remember last year, a lot of Fridays when we would talk to Ty, one of the questions would be, how do you fix the penalty issue? And it was an issue that really got him last year, and now you've got a big game against Texas A&M. You get flagged 10 times. That just can't happen in a game like that. So, yeah, I mean, they felt like Arkansas was in it early, but, A&M got the best of them. But I certainly think this is a better Arkansas team than last year. But I don't know how much that's going to help. I mean, at the end of the day, depending on what the record is, you can't go to your boss and say, well, I mean, we were a better team than last year, when last year was really, really bad. So
4-8.
Yeah, I mean, that's
lucky you didn't get fired then.
Hard to be worse than 4-8, but
A&M this week at home against Mizzou, kind of an old Big 12 game there. Arkansas home against Tennessee, and no doubt would have hosted game day, college game day, breaking down in Tuscaloosa Saturday afternoon, Saturday evening, and we're told head west, head to Fayetteville. Now they got to go really west to Berkeley.
How about that?
for Cal and the U. Texas 35-13 over Mississippi State, first SEC win for Arch Manning. How many more for him? How many years? How long does he stay at Austin and not go pro? State competed hard against heavy odds. Texas this week, open date before Red River. Mississippi State, open date before they play Georgia.
Yeah, I liked the energy from Mississippi State, especially early in this game. You made it difficult
I did too.
for Texas.
With Michael Van Buren.
Yeah, it looked like a feisty group out there. But ultimately, I mean, there's a reason Texas is a top 5 team.
They just had more.
I mean, they just got so much more right now, and they showed it. 522 yards of total offense. Arch looked good again. 324 and 2 touchdowns. So I mean, Texas is definitely back when you can have your star quarterback that preseason, one of the Heisman favorites, goes down with an injury, and you can just turn aside and go, Arch Manning, step up. Go time for you. So
and Arch Manning saying all the right things about when Quinn Ewers comes back. I mean,
he's been great.
So many places, especially in current day college football, that's so me.
Yeah.
He's not doing that.
Well, Brett, I would say he probably has good people around him that have trained him right in terms of what to say when you're talking to the media as a football player.
Yeah, he knows that it's the ultimate team sport.
Yes,
LSU 42-10 over South Alabama. 409 for Garrett Nussmeier. Garrett Nussmeier's got to be licking his chops waiting for Ole Miss to come in. 409 for Nussmeier. A complete win for LSU, 667 yards. Total offense. LSU opened this week before that home game against Ole Miss.
Yeah, it was a really good game for LSU. I really like watching Garrett Nussmeier throw the ball. I think he's really
too. I think he reminds me of Matt Stafford.
Really?
Great comparison.
Body, the whole nine.
Yeah, it really is.
Yeah,
and I think Garrett Nussmeier's got as much an NFL future as Burrow and Daniels. Now, he's not going to go into the NFL with a Heisman.
Right. But no, he's I think a really good quarterback, and good win for them. Before the schedule gets tougher for them.
Game of the year, no doubt about it. Yeah, I think everybody recognizes that. Still waiting to see a TV number. Bama, 41-34. It was really 3 games, and Bama won 2 of them. And in the end, won the one that mattered. The final score, Ryan Williams, 17 years old. No, Darian, 17. I possess none of those abilities. Not a strand, not a single salt. Not one of them. He had 6 catches for 177 yards. For Jalen Milroe, number 4 got it going, and he may be going for the 5th Heisman Trophy at Alabama. One-man wrecking ball. Carson Beck, a horrible early, and then got it going great in the middle and had the bad pick late in the game. Only 80 yards rushing for Georgia. They had to get away from a lot of rushing, but when they tried to, they couldn't. 4 turnovers for the Dogs, but I think they found something in that comeback. They lost on Saturday. They lost the battle, but Kirby Dog knows it's a war.
Yeah, he absolutely does. And you mentioned Ty earlier and how he tweeted out how that series has taken years off his life. I can only imagine a Georgia or Alabama fan watching that game Saturday night. I'm sure they had some years taken off their life in that matchup because, holy cow, that ending was one for the storybooks. But you mentioned it. I mean, Ryan Williams, what he does on a football field, so much fun to watch. He's incredible already as a 17-year-old freshman. But Jalen Milroe, you mentioned it, it. 374 yards, 2 touchdowns, 1 INT through the air, 117 yards and 2 touchdowns on the ground. We talked about the Heisman odds just last week. He has already shot all the way up to number 1, plus 200 at the sports book I was looking at earlier today. So, yeah, Jalen Milroe in this offense for Kalen DeBoer, he's got it going. And for Kalen DeBoer, I mentioned it with David Cobb. What a signature win for year one. So hard to come in after Nick Saban, and to be able to get a win over Georgia like that at home, massive for him.
This week, Georgia at home against Auburn, Bama on the road in Nashville against Vanderbilt. That will be a home game, just like Bryant or Saban Field, Bryant Denny Stadium is for Alabama. Let's look back at the weekend in the SEC, brought to you by the great people at Sissy's Log Cabin, the official jeweler of the hometown Memphis Grizzlies, big supporter of the Memphis Tigers. Can't wait to get back to FedEx Forum, to the floor seat lounge at FedEx Forum that Sissy's Log Cabin is sponsor of. And in there, when you go to the games there, go look into the display cases of all the beautiful jewelry you'll just see there. And then imagine what it's like in 9,000 square feet in Laurelwood. Go by there. You don't have to imagine it. Go by there for expanded lines for Rolex, Cartier, diamonds, and more since 1970, with all the great locations across the Mid-South. Unsurpassed value, exceptional service, expansive selection, and an extraordinary shopping experience, because life's too short for ordinary jewelry.
Well, let's get to another break, and when we come back, it'll be time for Big Number of the Day.
This is John Vergas. When my dad started the Rendezvous in 1948, I don't think anyone could have imagined we'd still be serving shoulder, cheese plates, and our world-famous dry rub ribs 75 years later. But we are still here in the basement, in an alley in downtown Memphis. We sincerely thank you for making the Rendezvous what it is today. Charlie Vergas Rendezvous, a legendary experience for over 75 years, whether you dine in, pick up, or ship across the country.
When you think about insurance and you want great value without sacrificing great service, I want you to think one place: the Eflin Insurance and the entire Eflin Insurance team. Matt and his group of professionals will access 10 leading companies to find the right home and auto program that fits your budget and your absolute needs. The Eflin Insurance team, the number 386-GER, 386-4777.
Jenkins Floors and More invite you to their retail warehouse where they pass wholesale savings on to you. Jenkins Floors in Little Rock, Cleveland, Mississippi, and now open in Horn Lake at 2356 West Goodman Road. Specializing in flooring and carpeting, tile, plantation shutters, and blinds, Jenkins makes your life easy with a 2-week turnaround. Contractors, builders, or family projects, call 662-469-9350 for a free estimate. Owners Timmy and Rebecca Jenkins say hello to Sports 56 fans and look forward to your business.
Fall is football at the Owner's Box Sports Bar and Grill in Lakeland, Town Square. Monday through Friday is happy hour from 3 to 6 with $1 off all draft meals, $5 off well drinks, $4.50 for house wine, and half off pretzel bites, mozzarella sticks, queso, corn dogs, and pickles. Friday night lights from 7 to close. Dine in and buy 12 wings and get 5 regular wings for free. Come watch college football and every pro game on the weekend. All at the Owner's Box Sports Bar and Grill in Lakeland, Town Square. Highway 70. Fall is football.
So you need to sell your house? I have the solution. Call 901-406-1101. That's 901-406-1101. Call my buddy Bill and I buy houses. Any house, any area, as is. It's literally as simple as that. Just pick up your phone. Call 901-406-1101. That's 901-406-1101. Call my buddy Bill and I buy houses. Guaranteed to close in 5 days. If you need to sell your house fast, call Bill at 901-406-1101. That's Bill at I Buy Houses.
Do you know one of the best things you can do for your employees or family's health? Provide Arctic Clear bottled water. Arctic Clear bottled water is your locally owned and operated bottled water provider. Arctic Clear is 100% natural spring water with free delivery and setup, dependable service, and no long-term contracts. What an easy choice. Call Jeff Manus today, 901-382-2363, or visit arctic-clear.com. Arctic Clear bottled water. Call now, 382-2363. That's 382-2363. 4363.
I'm with John Burgos from the world-famous Rendezvous in the Alley since 1948.
Brett, we have catered parties all over this country and all over the world, from Singapore, Australia to Central Park in New York. But many people don't realize how much we do locally. For holiday events, office parties, tailgating, birthday parties, you can't do better than the Rendezvous. For example, you can get a cheese and sausage tray for 15 to 300 people for $3.75 per person. You can even build your own nacho bar for $10.50 per person. All you need is a minimum of 15 people. In many cases, we can arrange delivery and full-service catering. We've even made it easy to get to-go items. You can just park at our front door in the alley, put on your flashes, and we'll get you going ASAP. For all your catering items and prices, go to hogsfly.com, click on menu, and drop down to catering.
Thank you, John. The Rendezvous, Mr. Charlie Burgos' Rendezvous in the Alley since 1948 and celebrating its 75th year.
Now, back to Sports Time on Sports 56 and 95
Big Daddy.
Hello, Big Brand. It's a guy, he wants to be big, then he gets big, he doesn't want to be big anymore, then he gets small, but the suit's too big.
Big Daddy.
The big boy.
You're a big guy. I think she's trying to pull a fast one on Big Daddy.
The big number of the day.
Well, Brett, my big number today is the number 8. We now have most of the playoffs set for Major League Baseball. We're still waiting for the completion of this game. Right now, bottom of the 4th, Atlanta up 1-0 over the Mets. Braves have to win to be into the playoffs, with the Mets winning earlier. If the Mets win, Diamondbacks get the final spot for the playoffs. But I saw this big number a couple weeks ago, and I wanted to save it until everything was official. The Tigers, the Detroit Tigers, were 55-63 at the end of play on August 10th. They now hold a spot in the wild card for the playoffs. The only Major League Baseball team ever to make the playoffs in a non-shortened season after being 8 or more games under 500 in August or later were the Mets in 1973, and now the Detroit Tigers join the 73 Mets as the only two teams in MLB history to make the playoffs in a non-shortened season after being 8 or more games under 500 in August or later. So this turnaround for the Tigers, I know we've talked a lot about it. It has been really, really fun to watch.
Mets came from way back only to fall short in the World Series against the A's that year. We got to pick these baseball series.
We do. We got to pick them.
We got to do the two American League today.
Yeah, I guess we'll have to do that in part while we're doing our Monday Night Football picks. I don't know.
It just hit me. My big number, 491. That was the yardage that Jalen Milroe accounted for, rushing and passing Saturday night in that tour de force performance in that setting, those lights, that drama, that team going against that team that he did it. 491, and I think he is clearly the Heisman Trophy front runner. And Bryant, through all the years for Alabama, they went so long without any Heisman Trophy winners. Now they have 4. For so long, that was all Auburn really had on them. You know, they had Pat Sullivan, they had Bo, and then after Bama got their first from Mark Ingram, they turned right around the next year and they got it with Cam Newton. If Bama just got to the college playoff semis and he won a 5th Heisman, my contention is, and there's always been a Bama spread over Auburn in that rivalry. Auburn's run it neck and neck a time or 2 or 3 or 4, Pat Dye years mostly. This will be the biggest spread ever between those two.
I think you're right.
Not point spread. I mean just the stylistic program spread.
I agree.
I mean, Bama's 100 miles ahead right now.
Yes. No, they 100% are. And I think
that's why I think Freeze is in trouble if it goes sour down the stretch, because you can't wait forever for Nick Saban to retire. He finally does. Okay, they got it right, but we didn't.
Yeah.
That would be the Auburn thinking.
Yeah.
And we can't dig deeper.
Mm-hmm. That's a really good point, Brett. You mentioned Jalen Milroe and leader right now in terms of odds for the Heisman Trophy. I just pulled it up because we talked about it last week and kind of went through a couple of the guys that are with the best odds for the Heisman. So right now, Jalen Milroe plus 200 to win the Heisman Trophy. Cam Ward behind him at plus 500. Travis Hunter has jumped way up after last week. We were looking like 6 or 7 guys were in front of him. He is now plus 600. He has the third best odds to win the Heisman Trophy. And then Ashton Gentry with Boise State wraps up the top 4 at plus 1,000 for Heisman.
Fair or not, the Heisman Trophy winner, there's a winning component.
Sure.
For Travis Hunter, what do you think the minimum number of wins they have to rack up for him to win the Heisman Trophy?
I have no idea.
Not sure of their stats, but being a 14.5-point dog, going to Central Florida and winning, playing as many plays as he did, leading the team in catches,
that helped.
interceptions, touchdowns. Like, I think it's going to become a point where his stats become a numbers game. Like, I know the winning component is on maybe one side of the dredging, but on the other side, his numbers and his stats will be so ridiculous. That
all right, I'm not saying I believe or not believe this, but if it came down between Milroe at 13-0 and champion of the SEC, or even 12-1 and champion of the SEC, and he's 7-5, his numbers that two-way. But because Milroe's got his hands on the ball every single snap on offense, and while he's playing both ways, how much did you impact your team? But it's not a team award.
Sure.
It's the push and pull of that.
Yeah.
I think if they win 8, it really gives a lot of it unlocks a lot of voters go, okay, I can do this.
That's I think 8's probably a good number. I think it's going to be tough for
them to get 8.
For Colorado
I'm going
to
to
get
take
8
a
wins.
peek quickly at how many more prime time, no pun intended, but how many more prime time games that Colorado has. Alabama will have quite a few.
Well, whether they do or not, because of Coach Prime and because of his story, all eyes are going to be on him. People are going to find them and should.
Sure. And I mean, that's, it's a different story for a guy like Ashton Gentry. I just mentioned he's 4th in Heisman odds. He's playing at Boise State. All their games are, 9:30, 10 o'clock at night for the most part. Nobody's watching Ashton Gentry at night. He's, best running back in the country. And so.
Well, they have a very aggressive campaign for him. I get something from BYU from Boise State almost every day.
Do you really? Mm-hmm. Wow. How about that? So they're pushing hard.
And you should.
Absolutely. I mean, you got a guy up there in conversation for it. I think push as hard as you possibly can. I did not know that. That's hilarious. But let's go ahead and wrap up this second hour and get to another break. And when we come back, we got to talk some Grizzlies media days downtown for the Beale Street Bears. So we got to talk to Rob Fisher because he was down there at Media Days. We got to get his thoughts on everything he heard, what he expects for training camp, some of these injuries that have happened over the last month or so. So we got to get into a lot of Grizzlies. We'll do that with Rob Fisher next on Sports Time.
Simple, smooth, and every sip is easy as the last. Tito's handmade vodka tastes just as good with tap water as it does your favorite mixers. Back in the day, Tito distilled, hand-bottled, taste-tested, sent out to a few friends, then taste-tested again to give you the finest juice around. No frills, no flavors, no fancy labels, just the good stuff, just Tito's. For recipes, videos, and more, visit Tito'sVodka.com. Distilled and bottled in Austin, Texas. 40% alcohol by volume, mainly 80 proof, crafted to be savored responsibly.
All 650 acquisition fee, 20,000 miles per year, 20 cents excess mileage, Forte, RE 794, 626, MSRP 21,820, Telluride RG 543,666, MSRP 39,835, Sportage S734,0278, MSRP 29,135, includes all rebates and incentives, PF 695, includes tax, title, and license, must finance through Hyundai with approved credit, valid through 9/30/24, dealer stock only.
Hey, Jeff Allen, I hear it's a family affair over there in Gossett Kia, South Mount Moriah.
Yep, we've got got something for everyone. 41 MPG Highway and a 2024 Kia Forte LXS, $199 a month, $37.99 due at signing. 2025 Kia Sportage, $269 per month, $34.99 due at signing. And a 2024 Kia Telluride S front-wheel drive, $359 per month, $39.99 due at signing. And a 2024 Kia EV9 Lite rear-wheel drive has 0% for 72 months available. You haven't heard 0% in a long time.
Plus, all those bad boys come with a 10-year, 100,000-mile powertrain limited warranty.
So whether you live in Horn Lake, South Haven, Olive Branch, or Memphis, you'll be happy at Gossett Kia on Mount Moriah.
Hi, this is Troy Fiveash, owner of Fiveash Roofing. In these uncertain economic times, there are so many things as a contractor and a business owner that I cannot control. The rising cost of materials, not to mention fuel and transportation costs. In the last 2 years, shingle prices have almost doubled, and commercial materials have doubled. And I don't have to tell you what fuel costs these days. But you know what I can control? How much markup I put on a project. I have always prided myself in knowing I never gouge a customer. But in an effort to ensure my crews have work and my customers are being treated fairly, I have lowered my profit margin, hoping to give you a price you can live with and keeping my crews busy. So if you need a roof or gutters, please give us a call. Fiveash Roofing, fair, honest, and ethical. Fiveash Roofing, a proud sponsor of Tiger Athletics and a member of the Tigers home team. 367-0050 or memphisroofer.com. 367-0050 or memphisroofer.com.
Hello, sports fans out there. Walker Taylor here with the Germantown and Collierville Commissary. We just celebrated our 43rd year in business, and I would like to thank our fantastic customers and especially our loyal staff. Time has flown by. We now have a second location, Poplar and Houston Levy in Collierville. Catering is a specialty of ours. 50 to 5,000, no job too small, no job too big. Full service or self-service. We also have a party room in Collierville that is great for rehearsal dinners, business meetings, you name it, we'd love to have you. Also, our barbecue party packs start at $8.75 a person. Barbecue, beans, slaw, bun sauce, including serving utensils. Especially great for tailgating with football season coming up. The commissary restaurants also believe in giving back to the community. Possibly you have been approached by somebody selling a barbecue 6-pack coupon for fundraising. Cheerleading groups, church groups, anything to help a worthy cause. Holidays are near. Smoked hams and smoked turkeys will be on the pit before you know it. Come see us at Germantown and Collierville Commissary. Also check us out at commissarybarbecue.com.
It didn't take them long. Genesis Diamonds is now the undisputed value leader here in Memphis. Hey, it's Eric Hasseltine, and people who have gone into Genesis Diamonds with a budget have often left spending less than they thought they would, and they end up with a better diamond, a bigger diamond, and a nicer ring. I'm telling you, Genesis has disrupted the old school jewelry store scene right here in Memphis. It starts with value. Genesis is a direct diamond importer where they get their diamonds from the world's best diamond cutters with no middleman. I call it extreme value. Genesis is also the authorized retailer for all the top bridal designers, so they have the rings on every woman's wish list. They back up every purchase with a 100% free lifetime warranty. That means no charge ever for things like sizing or cleaning. All this in a fun, relaxed environment with no commission salespeople, no pressure of any kind, and no retail pricing games. We've needed a place like this for years here in Memphis, and now Genesis is here. It's quite a change from other jewelry stores with traditional prices, limited selection, and insane markups. Genesis Diamonds at Poplar and Perkins Extended in Poplar Commons.
This Sports 56 traffic report is brought to you by Luttrell Belting. They keep you moving.
Sports 56 traffic.
Good afternoon. A few rain showers still exist out here in certain areas. It really just depends on what side of town you're on. Traffic's on the increase now down south of Memphis, 55 as you head on down past State Line Road through South Haven into DeSoto County. It's that time of day for it to get busy, and it is over here on 240 East, but at least it's moving here up by Poplar. Hey, Weimer's Jewelry, located 7525 Highway 64, is your full-service, family-owned jewelry store here in the Memphis area. I'm Commander Chuck with your on-time traffic.
We are Sports 56, WHBQ Memphis, and W253DF Memphis with John Harden. Weekdays from 11 to 1. Now, back to Sports Time on Sports 56 and 98.5 FM. This hour brought to you by Jaguar Land Rover Bluff City. Once again, our Brett Norsworthy and Brian Dacus.
You say you stand by your man. Tell me something I don't
understand. You said you love me, and that's a fact.
Welcome back into Sports Time. Bryant and Brett with you in our Family Leisure Studios, and joining us now to talk some Grizzlies. It's media day for the Memphis Grizzlies, and Rob Fisher was there listening to what everybody had to say. Rob Fisher joins us now to talk the Grizzlies and the NBA. Hey, Rob, how was media days today?
It was good. I guess as far as media days go, it was fine. There's no drama. There's no news, and I think that's good. I think that's the way that you want it to be. You want it to go smoothly, and no one say anything that comes off as shocking, and that didn't happen today. But it's a great day because to see the guys in uniform. And to be talking basketball, knowing that they start camp tomorrow, it's a great time of year. I mean, it's right around the corner. We got a preseason game in 9 days, which is a first home preseason game in 9 days, which is pretty amazing.
Rob, it really is. Hope springs eternal, and for you and for a lot of the people that work for the team and cover the team day in, day out, it's almost like first day of your senior year of high school, isn't it? Getting back to seeing everybody.
Yeah, no, that's exactly how it is. It's, because when I've told you many times before, when the season ends, it feels like that last day of school where you say goodbye to everybody, and a lot of these people that you spend so much time with for 6 months, and you're around every single day, and you can't help but be around them for 6 months. Then it's over. It just ends. So that first day back is great because you get to see everybody and a lot of hugs and a lot of sharing stories about what the summers were like and things like that. So, and especially stats after last year, and how that went and how the season, the off season was so long because of the no postseason and for how last year played out. It's a relief to be back, and it's a relief to think that basketball's starting again because it's so highly anticipated because last year was just so miserable, and you have such high expectations for this team.
Yeah. I know we talked about it throughout the offseason, throughout kind of the playoffs, but with Ja Morant being back, obviously he had so much, and we've kind of seen him now that he's cleared. He's been in the gym working out. We've seen videos of him dunking and everything, and then today he said, a happy Ja is a scary Ja for a lot of people. What do you think this year looks like now with Ja Morant back, and the fact I think the happy Ja is definitely big because last year at this time it was going through all of the suspension and everything with that and those stories that you had to deal with last offseason. How much different do you think this offseason has been for him, and how will that affect him on the court?
I think it's been long, real long offseason as well for him.
Yeah.
So I think he's chomping at the bit to get back. And, what's it going to look like? Well, I tell people the same thing. Google them. And remind yourself of what it looks like. And when you see, I saw there was a post last week, NBA Central tweeted out a post, and it said, Ja Morant appreciation post. It was just highlights of Ja, and it's breathtaking to watch. And, if you've forgotten what Ja is and what Ja is capable of, just watch some of those highlights and you remember. What I expect to see from Ja Morant is something that'll take my breath away every single night, and something I've never seen before every single night. That's what I expect from Ja. I expect a mature Ja, a humble Ja, and I expect this team to be a mature team and a humble team after what happened to them last year. You can't take these good teams and these years for granted because you never know what could happen. All you have to do is look at what happened last season, and that's another year of not being able to do anything. So, I think this team learned from last year and has taken that away from last year of just hungry to get back at it and hungry to prove people that, they still belong near the top of the Western Conference.
Rob, I believe with every fiber of my being, the comeback story, the next chapter for Ja Morant's going to be so much better than than the first one. And this next one, I feel like will end someday in late May, early June basketball, Western Conference Finals or NBA Finals. And you know who else is betting on that? Nike. Nike, they don't stick by Ja Morant like they have. And in this world where everything feels so transactional and they only love you when you're on top, Nike deserves to be praised for sticking by him, and I think Ja's going to reward them and the Grizzlies fans for the support.
No doubt. I mean, their Twitter handle yesterday, the background picture on their Twitter page is the Ja mural, and I mean that's a pretty big deal. I mean, he's the face of them right now, and he's got that capability of being the face of the NBA. He was on that path of being one of the faces of the NBA. And I expect him to be so again, and I expect it to happen quickly. I expect his jersey sales, especially with the new jerseys they're going to wear, I expect those to be through the roof. I expect him to be a superstar because he's got that capability of being a superstar in this league, and we've seen it. We know what he's capable of. So, yeah, I think he also has a little chip on his shoulder, and that's fine. You know, he always seems to find something to put a chip on his shoulder, and I love when he's got a chip on his shoulder. So that's great.
After Ja, who is the chippiest on shoulder player on the team?
Oh,
that wakes up leading with her chin, ready to have to show him again.
I think Desmond Bane's kind of a chip on his shoulder guy. I mean, he's still mad at the Dallas Mavericks for draft night. So,
that's like Tom Brady. He's still mad over 199. Get over it. I mean, you're sitting on $1 billion. Get over it, man.
I think that's what the Mavericks say every time they see Desmond Bain. Get over it.
Light up.
Oh, that's great. Rob, Zach Edey said that he's been losing weight. He's down to 290. And he said it's going to help him be able to move better than ever. And we've kind of seen some pictures, videos of him this offseason. It looks like he's moving a little better up and down the court. How big will that be for him, kind of maybe altering his body a little bit more to the style of the NBA?
I guess good. I mean, if he feels like it helps him move around and get up and down the floor a little bit better, then okay, that's cool. Good with me. He looks great.
Yeah.
I mean, for a guy that's 7'4" and to look that proportionate is pretty impressive.
It's true.
And he's a guy that we're sure putting a lot of hope in. Yeah. And it almost as if it's a foregone conclusion that he's just going to be really good for this team. But I think it's because of what he does is what we need. And I think that's why everybody does believe it's going to go seamlessly for him to make that transition to the NBA. He's going to have to prove it, but I think everybody is pretty confident that he'll be able to do it. And he said today, there's some things that he doesn't even know what he's capable of, and he's capable of a lot more than he's already shown. So it's, he's a confident guy, and just hearing him talk today, he's all about team. It's about the team and the team's success only. That's all that matters in everything that he says. And, he talks like a true veteran when he does talk.
Let me translate the proportionality of Zach Edey's weight. What you were really nicely saying is he doesn't look like Jake Sokolidis.
That's exactly right. I mean, he's more Yao Ming than
right.
Jake Sokolidis. Yeah, because guys
that's a good
that
thing.
Size, guys that size, usually it's kind of lanky or awkward but not him. I mean, he's full. And, the legs are as big as his torso, which are as big as his head. I mean, he's just a big, massive dude.
I think we're going to see a nasty streak out of him.
I'm all for it. For how much he is team, that stuff usually can come from team stuff, standing up for teammates and things like that. I think he's a good guy to have on your back, and I think it's good that the players like Ja Morant reached out to him to work out with them this year, and he took advantage of that. And it's been a good off season for him getting to know his new teammates, and which has been, I think, great to see a rookie who's going to have such an impact on this team. Great to see him take that opportunity this off season and work out with those guys and get acclimated, because he's going to have to step right in and perform.
Yeah. One guy that was missing from media days was Derrick Rose after he announced his retirement last year after asking for his release from the Grizzlies. What did you make of that news last week? And now what do you think the Grizzlies will do with that open roster spot?
Well, it wasn't surprising, the Derrick Rose news. I mean, all you had to do was watch him play last year. And, it's unfortunate, and that his career has had to come to an end because of the injuries, but it did, and I think he's stepping away at the right time. I think he was, it was interesting today to hear Zach Kleiman and Taylor Jenkins and the players all talk about Derrick Rose and what he meant to these guys the short time that he was in Memphis. And I think it just speaks volumes about Derrick Rose, the person, and how he's matured as a person and what he's become as a person and as a basketball player. He meant so much to this team in such a short period of time, and they all said that they hope he's around a lot more. And, it just, unfortunately, he couldn't. His mentorship, which, one of the reasons why he was brought in, was great. His ability to be on the floor, not so much. And his body just won't let him do it. So, wish him the best of luck. And so it wasn't surprising news, but it's too bad. He's one of the great stars this game has, and to see him have to walk away was too bad. But he won't be forgotten at all. Now, as far as the Grizzlies and what they're going to do with that position, obviously Scottie Pippen Jr. is on a two-way deal. Could they reward Scottie Pippen with a contract? They have 2 roster spots. One they have to fill before the season begins, and maybe Scottie Pippen Jr. is a guy that they could convert from a two-way to a fully guaranteed contract. Because I don't know what your other option is. You could go out and get a Markelle Fultz maybe, but I don't know if there are any other options that really are enticing at all. I think mainly what you're going to see is you're going to see a combination of Marcus Smart, Desmond Bain, Luke Kennard, all handling the basketball like we've seen in the past when they've had to play it by committee. And let's be honest, when you're talking about 12 minutes per game that you need to fill that position, and come playoff time, you're talking about maybe 4 minutes a game you need to fill that position. So I think they'll be able to do it. I think there's a lot of trust in Scottie Pippen Jr. I think they do believe in him. I just don't know if it's as the backup point guard full-time at this point yet in his career.
Rob, your good friend and colleague, Brevin Knight, also a podcast co-host with you. He has talked since really the elimination of preseason games and even camp being reduced. He thought that ultimately has hurt some young player development. With that in mind, who needs a good camp and who needs a good preseason on this roster?
I think 2 people. Santi Aldama being one. I thought Santi, I expected a bigger step from Santi last year than what we saw. And I think, with his Olympic experience this summer, I think he can take that step this year. Take a bigger step this year. I think the other guy's Jake LaRavia. I mean, here it is, dude. You know,
it's time.
This Gigi's down, Vince is down. There's an open spot on the second 5-man unit. There's an open spot there, and it's all yours for the taking. And if you don't take it, we'll just throw John Conchar in there and be fine. So, but he's got the opportunity. Last year he had the opportunity. He took advantage of it. He got the opportunity again in Summer League, took advantage of it. Jake has taken advantage of the opportunity when he's been able to stay healthy. And, I'm not a believer in going into this season and saying, well, if they stay healthy, because every team in the league can say that. We're just harping on, we just keep remembering last year. But if you forget last year, there's one guy who every year it's been injuries since his career began, and that's Jake LaRavia. So, Jake, stay healthy, and you've got a huge opportunity in front of you, and we'll see if he'll be able to take that opportunity and take advantage of it and get himself some playing time early in the season.
We're not going to ask W's and L's today. We're not going to ask seedings today, but we will ask all that if we can have you back on the afternoon of opening night in Salt Lake City on Wednesday, October 23rd. But since we don't get a lot of you, we always want more. Give me your top-line September thoughts on college football and what you saw and think, if you saw anything, of the presser today in St. Louis with the Cardinals' complete organizational change.
I did not see it. I mean,
It was something.
So Moselic's out after next year?
Really, nobody got fired. They moved Gersh around to some other spot, and they named the succession plan that Chaim Bloom will take over for John Mozeliak at the end of next year.
Yeah. Yay! And Ollie Marmol talked about all the good young players that we have and how we got to grow and get better. So, go Cardinals.
Have you ever seen anybody happier over 83-win season?
No, and it's like going 6-6 at Auburn, man. It's not good enough.
No, it's not. It's a great comparison.
And that's one of my takes of the college football season as well. Auburn's not good enough. In fact, they're not very good at all. And for Hugh Freeze to continue to throw his team under the bus doesn't bode well for him. But I guess he's at that point now at Auburn where it's time to just start throwing everybody under the bus. If you got a bus to throw, you throw it to try and save your job at this point if you're Hugh Freeze. I think the thing that's really stood out to me now after just, 5 weeks of the college football season is that I'm having a hard time coming to grips with believing that the Georgia loss isn't that bad. The Ole Miss loss to Kentucky isn't that bad. I mean, years past, that Ole Miss loss to Kentucky, it's over. Season over. I mean, yeah, you could still go to the Sugar Bowl, and that'll be nice, and have yourself a great season. But what your expectations were going into the season would be over. But now they're not. And it's hard for me to kind of understand that, of coming to grips with the fact that, hey, Ole Miss is fine. They're okay, but that's a tough loss. You got to make it up now somewhere. But they're still okay. And so that's been kind of weird for me. But, and I think when you look at all the teams, I don't think anybody's going to go unscathed in the SEC. They might in the country, but I don't think it's going to happen in the SEC. I think everybody's due for a loss at some point.
You make me feel a little better because it Saturday sure felt like something was over.
Oh, I'm sure it did. I mean, Missouri almost getting beat by Vanderbilt could have been crushing if in the old system. But they're still okay because they're still unscathed. They still haven't lost. Well, so they're fine. It's weird to get used to think and weird to get used to think of. All right, we're now doing it with 12 teams. It's not just 4; it's 12, and those teams are still near the top. I mean, Kentucky seems to be making everybody's life hell right now.
Yeah, they absolutely are. Rob, last thing for you, since we kind of touched on baseball, wild card starts tomorrow. Who do you like in the World Series?
I'm kind of scared of Houston, just because they got the pitching that's been there before. National League, I like the Dodgers a lot. Yeah. Their lineup is just really good, and with Shohei at the top, and I would love to see the Dodgers go far, and Shohei make an appearance out of the bullpen would be unbelievable. So I like them. The rest of the National League, the only team that scares me a little bit of the National League is that I would say they could be a sneaky threat. They're not even in the playoffs yet. The Atlanta Braves. They seem to be playing better at the right time, and they're getting healthier. So they could be a little bit of something, although the Chris Sale news today is kind of weird.
Yeah. And they would be the 6th seed, wouldn't they? In the last 2 years in the National League, the 6th seed went to the World Series.
Well, there you go. So I think the Braves could be sneaky at least out of the National League. And then in the American League, like I said, Houston is a team that I like. And, I think betting-wise, why not the Guardians? They for most of the season, they had the best record in baseball. So I think for betting purposes, if you're looking at a future, Guardians aren't a bad one. Just because you don't know who they are and who's on their team doesn't mean they're not a great baseball team.
And you're a professional handicapper.
That's right.
And I am a professional handicapper. That is correct, yes.
do you have papers?
Oh, man.
It's a plastic ID. It's an ID.
There you
Got
go.
you.
That's right.
Got you.
Well, I love getting a bet every now and then. Well, Rob, as always, thanks so much for joining us, and we'll do it again soon.
Fellas, always a pleasure. Look forward to talking opening night. Coming soon.
Right.
You're the best, man.
Thanks,
Thank you, Rob.
Rob Fisher joining us to talk the Grizzlies, as always, on all of their television broadcasts.
Let's get these AL picks right now.
Oh, geez. Okay, let's do it.
Tomorrow afternoon, first game, 1:42, 2 out of 3. Everything will be played at the same stadium. There won't be any travel, and it starts with Houston. I can't get to the app.
Houston and Detroit.
Yep.
Houston and Detroit. Give me Houston. Right.
Make that ditto.
No, Darian, but everybody.
I'll go Detroit.
Okay. Will
Why
you
not?
get Connors for me?
I will.
Then the afternoon game, 3:08 first pitch in Baltimore. That'd be a fun scene at Camden Yards. Kansas City and the Orioles. Give me those.
I'm rooting for the Fighting Jackson Holidays.
Yeah. I don't know if I'm rooting for him, but I'll take
I'm
the
rooting for
Orioles.
him. That is a former Cardinal. That's a soft spot in my heart, man.
Son of, yeah.
That doesn't mean I gotta like him, you know.
Blood's thick, isn't it, Darian?
Thank you, Stats. Thank you.
It's so thick. Darian's working the Dodger hat.
Yeah, I told Stats I couldn't officially break it out until the Cardinals were out. I had to tell him.
I see. That
Darian,
makes sense.
how many fitted hats do you have?
Oh, actually, only 4 because I dress up so much at the other job. This is kind of like. It feels great, like you kind of let your hair down, right? So only 4, strangely enough. But I know Jay Morgan has much more than me because I watch him online a lot.
Yeah,
So,
no,
but only 4.
it's, definitely a lot. I don't have any fitted hats. I'm the snapback guy.
I just got a Cardinals. At one time, I had maybe all of them. Gave them away through the years.
Yeah.
I wear one team's gear.
Yeah,
my Cardinals.
That's right. I don't know my head size. I gotta go try some hats on and figure out.
Oh,
what
you know
size
what?
I
This
need for
is a
the fit.
snappy.
Oh, is it?
Because you do have I have a big head. So yeah, this is a
Right.
snappy. I forget about that.
Oh, I thought it was fitted. I'm sorry.
No, it's a snappy.
That's great.
I forgot
Great
about it.
lid.
I've been in there all day, and I've been looking at the back of his head all day when I walk in
It got
there.
me when you said head size. I was like, I don't know my head size. And I was like, no, this is a snap.
I used to know
I
my
don't.
head size.
Yeah, because I don't. Nope,
now
I'm a
I have
snapback too. Yeah.
No idea. Well, before we get to a break, let me remind you of our great sponsors for our third and final hour. It's Jaguar Land Rover Bluff City. Jaguar Bluff City has been the premier Jaguar dealership for the greater Memphis area since 1984. Their talented team is ready to help you find your perfect vehicle at unbeatable rates. Swing by Jaguar Land Rover Bluff City today and check out the new 2025 models like the 2025 Range Rover Sport, the 2025 Range Rover Velar, or the 2025 Defender. Test drive the 2025 Range Rover Sport where luxury meets performance. It's a perfect mix of style, performance, and versatility with options ranging from 360 horsepower up to 635 horsepower. And it's also available as a plug-in hybrid electric vehicle with $7,500 federal tax credit when leased with approved credit. Also, take a look at the 2025 Range Rover Velar, powered by mild hybrid technology and enhanced with the latest well-being features and a fully connected entertainment system. The 2025 2025 Range Rover Velar is the ultimate luxury compact crossover. Purchase yours today and get special 4.4% for 72 months financing available with approved credit. Also, don't forget about the 2025 Defender, available in multiple models to fit your needs. The Defender is built for the modern explorer, and Jaguar Bluff City is offering special interest rates for 60 and 72 months for various models. Give them a call today at 877-259-6169. That's 877-259-6169, or go online at jaguarbluffcity.com to find your next perfect vehicle.
Group lock on the Orioles. I got Connor's pick.
Wow.
He takes those as well.
Better than me.
Bryant, you're by yourself with Detroit.
I'll take them. I mean, I feel pretty confident they will be 1-0 to start the wild card with Skubal up there. So then, you just got to win one more. I feel okay about that. But let's go ahead and get to a break, because when we come back, we got to break down 2 games tonight for Monday Night Football, and we got to make more picks for Monday Night Football because we have 2 games tonight. Titans at Dolphins, Seahawks at Lions. We also got to get to our big 4 running backs among those 4 teams. We'll do all of that next on Sports Time.
Start your day with Sports 56 Mornings with Greg Gaston and Eli Savoy. Weekday mornings from 7 to 10, right here on Sports 56 and 98.5 FM.
This Sports 56 traffic report is brought to you by Luttrell Belting. They keep you moving.
Welcome to the Rendezvous.
This is John Vergas. When my dad started the Rendezvous in 1948, I don't think anyone could have imagined we'd still be serving shoulder, cheese plates, and our world-famous dry rub ribs 75 years later. But we are still here in the basement, in an alley in downtown Memphis. We sincerely thank you for making the Rendezvous what it is today. Charlie Vergas Rendezvous, a legendary experience for over 75 years, whether you dine in, pick up, or ship across the country.
Wash your house, wash your office building? Impossible! Not if you call Wilson's Pro Wash. Your house, fence, driveway, warehouse, store, hotel, even cars and trucks can all be squeaky clean and beautiful after pressure washing by Wilson's Pro Wash. Wilson's specializes in cleaning all hard surfaces, concrete, stone, brick, and mortar, even wood and vinyl siding. Then Wilson's can seal their surfaces so they stay looking brand new. Call Wilson's Pro Wash, 91524-6799, or online at wilsonsprowash.com.
You or someone you know or care about has dealt with a difficult divorce. When facing divorce, you need the attorneys at Rice Law. Nick and Larry Rice lead the firm with 3 generations and 7 decades of experience. Located in Memphis, serving the entire state of Tennessee and North Mississippi. Rice Law is who you need to call. Simple or difficult divorce, they know how to handle it. Call Rice Law at 901-526-6701, or for more information, visit them at aboutdivorce.com. That's aboutdivorce.com.
Join us celebrating 26 years of Napa Cafe. Hi, I'm Glenda Hastings, owner of Napa Cafe, and I'm inviting you over for dinner. Treat yourself tonight with a delightful dinner of scrumptious combinations, fresh salads, homemade soups, or maybe start with an appetizer, like our baked Dungeness crab dip with manchego cheese, lemon, garlic, and French baguette toast. Drift into one of our fresh seafood dishes, like the caramelized sea scallops with curry beurre blanc, black forbidden rice, and Thai mango salad. Or our ancho honey glazed salmon with creamy black bean puree, avocado pico de gallo, and jalapeno crema. Maybe you're looking for something cozy and comforting, like our Duroc pork chop with apple brandy demi-glaze and blue cheese bacon mashed potatoes. We have something for everyone. Napa Cafe, open Wednesday through Saturday for dinner starting at 5 o'clock. For reservations, visit our website at napacafe.com. Come join us as we celebrate 26 years of Napa Cafe. I'd sure love to see you.
Now, back to Sports Time on Sports 56 and 98.5 FM. This hour brought to you by Jaguar Land Rover Bluff City. Here once again are Brett Norsworthy and Brian Dacus.
Hello again, everyone. I'm Howard Cosell. Welcome aboard. ABC's Monday Night Football.
Have I told y'all I went 5-0 in the NFL this week?
You did mention that.
I did. Okay.
I think so. But if you didn't, here we go again.
Everybody went 4-2 in college. Everybody won straight up their college shop.
Wow.
How about that?
How about
I
that?
had BYU. Bryant, you had BYU. Connor had BYU. And Darian, oh, no, Darian didn't win it straight up. He just won it with Illinois getting there.
Won with Illinois.
That's good.
I won it straight up the week before with James Madison.
That's right.
That's right.
Big
But still a good week.
That's right.
For the year in college football. Darian is 21-10. Brian is 21-10. Connor is 20-11. I'm 13-8. For the year in the NFL, I am 20-10. Bryant, you went 2-3 so far, so that would have you at 11-19 for the year. Darian 3-2. It would be 15-15 for the year. And Connor 2-3. That would have him at 12-18 for the year. Monday Night Football tonight, 6:30 on ESPN. Miami 2.5-point favorite over Tennessee. Who could have imagined these quarterbacks starting against each other in the preseason? Well, maybe for the Tennessee side, we could have imagined it. And in the second game, the later game on ABC on Monday Night Football at 7:15, Detroit 4.5-point favorite over the undefeated Seattle Seahawks. I'm going to take Miami and lay the 2.5 to win 17-13. Connor takes Miami as well. Connor also has Seattle. Brian.
Okay. I'm going to take the Titans in the first game, and then I'll take the Seahawks in the second game. I'll take both dogs.
Darian.
Let's see. John Harden talked me out of this earlier. I'm going to take the Titans with the 2.5.
Okay.
I'm going to take the Titans.
Come, join the dark side.
And for the second game, I will take the Lions.
All right.
I need them to beat the Seahawks.
If Seattle remained undefeated, that's quite an accomplishment for a first-year young
certainly.
head coach.
Yeah, it definitely would be. I'm not super confident in it, but if they can, then yeah, that'd be massive for them. Certainly a step in the right direction.
I like
if
to
they
downplay
lose,
my foes. It's not what's going on in Minnesota, but
And if they lose, what are we down to? 2 undefeateds?
I believe that's right, yes.
Kansas City, Minnesota, is that it?
How about Minnesota? Man, playing well.
With Sam Darnold.
That's right. And Sam Darnold now top 5 in MVP odds. Who would have ever thought? Sam Darnold, MVP odds in top 5. It feels like a nightmare.
Fool's gold, gentlemen. That's what we call that, fool's gold.
You call it something.
He will regress. He will plateau, and it will even back out. Trust me.
Water finds its level, doesn't it?
Trust me.
Every time. Kansas City and Miami, Super Bowl, rematch of Super Bowl 4. Anybody up for that?
I'll
They think that's really going to happen?
I'll pass on that.
I think I'll pass on it, too. Tonight, though, Geno Smith. Can you believe the revitalization of his career?
Yeah, good for him. A guy that it just felt like was always going to be a career backup and gets his shot in Seattle and makes the most
shy of
of
laughing
it.
stock.
Oh, absolutely. And, so he's had this turnaround and has a spot in Seattle and is, making the most of it. So I love watching it.
I got another name for he was Jacoby Brissett. That's who he was, Jacoby Brissett.
And
now serviceable,
he's
sure.
Very good player.
Yeah, absolutely. Very impressive what he's done. And so, that's a team in Seattle that, you go from Russell Wilson and, that started to go south and you get rid of him. And what do? It looked like it was going to be really bad. And, he has definitely made the most out of it and has been really, really impressive.
I can't imagine Detroit's played on Monday Night Football that much. I'm looking it up now.
Yeah,
maybe they have, Brad. You got to think those Barry days. People want to see them.
That's
maybe
true.
Monday night. Yeah.
Maybe a couple times last year.
Shout out to Wayne Funds, wherever he is.
It can't be a ton, I guess.
6-8 on Monday Night Football since 1999.
Wow. What are they against the spread?
23-1 all time on Monday night.
Interesting.
That's a lot more than I thought. But you're right, the Barry Sanders years.
Yeah.
That leads us perfectly into the top 4 running backs among these 4 teams. You can have everybody from one. for Detroit, you could have Barry Sanders, Billy Sims. That's about it.
Anybody got Billy Sims? No.
I do not.
I went in the Wayback Machine. I heard you guys talking the other day about how far back is Wayback. I went in the Wayback Machine for you a little bit.
How far is Wayback?
And for this one, it's the 70s. So I'll go ahead and give you my.
For you in general. What's way back?
For me, it wasn't the 80s. For you, it was like the 80s. For me, it's probably 60s.
Yeah.
Fire way back.
Probably 60s.
All right, let's hear this list.
All right, I'll go ahead and give you mine. Get it out of the way.
Yeah.
Number 4, Marshawn the Beast.
Okay.
Marshawn
I thought about
Beast
putting
mode.
him
Just on the outside looking in for me.
I gave it to him because of the championship. He has a ring. That's the only reason.
He should have had two.
Should have had two. That's the only reason he beat out Sean Alexander's and the others. From number 3, Larry Zonka. Larry was awesome. Hall of Famer. 2, I take this back to the Oiler days because the Titans have their history. Earl Campbell. How can you not have Earl Campbell? And number 1, it's just like when we did the 49ers and it was unanimous with Jerry Rice. I think it should be unanimous with Barry Sanders. He is my greatest running back of all time.
This is easy, isn't it? Him number 1?
Yes.
Oh, yeah, him number 1, yes.
No doubt. The career Billy Sims was off to before devastating knee injuries, or there would have never been a number 20 Barry Sanders.
Yeah.
He was on his way to it being retired and him being and what a history of number 20 in Detroit with Lem Barney, the great defensive back, then Billy Sims for a short but great moment, and then Barry Sanders. He mothballed it forever. Nobody's wearing it again. Bryant, your top 4.
My top 4 looks like this. Number 4, Chris Johnson, CJ2K, one of my favorite running backs growing up with the Titans. Number 3 for me, Earl Campbell. Number 2, Eddie George. And number 1, Barry Sanders.
Okay, Chris Johnson is a great one.
Thank you.
And
underrated.
Thank you.
Very underrated, very underappreciated. But on the all-time rushing yardage, this is unbelievable. We know where Barry Sanders.
Oh, yeah.
Where he is. He's at number 4, 15,269. Then you go down, and almost everybody else that could be in this.
Yeah.
At 28th, Eddie George, 10,441. 29th, Marshawn, 10,413. 32, Derrick Henry, 99.82. I'm going to have Ricky Williams in mind.
Sure, that's another good. We were just talking about that in the break.
He's at 10,009. Chris Johnson, 96.51.
Crazy.
Sean Alexander, 94.53. Earl Campbell, 94.07.
That's insane.
They're all right there together.
It's crazy. It's good.
I'm going to go 4, Ricky Williams. 2, Eddie George. Eddie George at 10,441 all time. Number 2 for me, Eddie George 3. Number 2 for me, right now. Last night didn't hurt it.
No.
But he wasn't with the Titans
That's
last
right.
night. Think what the Titans have done. Let's see here. Why are we so bad? We traded A.J. Brown. We traded Derrick Henry. And we fired Mike Vrabel. How'd we get bad?
Well, yeah.
And we drafted Will Levis.
It's a mystery, all right.
Keep it going. Keep it going.
Will Levis. 2 for me is Derrick Henry. He's now at 99.82. Any kind of game next week he goes past Ricky Williams. And any kind of next month he goes to 26th or so.
It's crazy.
All time.
It's insane. He's
number
so
1,
good.
Barry Sanders.
Yeah, I mean, how do you not have Barry Sanders number 1? But no, I mean, Derrick Henry.
Barry Sanders, Heisman Trophy winning year
Yeah.
in '88 at Oklahoma State, wearing number 21
Yeah.
at Oklahoma State. What he did in the return game and on offense, rushing and receiving, it may be the greatest Heisman year ever.
It's crazy. I mean, I go down just rabbit holes sometimes of watching Barry Sanders Oklahoma State videos that I can find, and it's incredible.
And won the Heisman while his team was playing in Japan. They were on an extended end of the year game, I think, against Wyoming, and he got the news in Japan.
Wow.
Hey, Brett, I wanted to bring up one
that.
name. He didn't come up, but he was the Seahawks' first 1,000-yard rusher, Kurt Warner, with a C, not a K. Kurt Warner was actually
Kurt Warner from Penn State, part of Joe Paterno's first national championship team. And along with Chris Warren with Seattle, their first two great running backs before along came Sean Alexander, who's right in there, fittingly. Sean's 37th in all-time NFL rushing yards, and then Marshawn Lynch.
It's crazy.
Chris Warren from Tiny Ferrum College. They would always say that. Every announcer, when he would do something big, from Tiny Ferrum College.
Where is Ferrum College?
I think South Carolina. I think.
Interesting. Never heard of it.
But Kurt Warner was big-time player for the Seahawks.
Yeah. No, it's I'm telling you, this was hard today. I mean, I feel
this was hard because it was so much.
Exactly. I mean, there's just so many guys
with the same profile.
Exactly. I mean, you laid it out perfect. I mean, they're all right there in that same
Virginia.
area.
John Varlas tells me Ferrum College in Virginia.
Okay.
Thank you, JV.
How about that? Shout out JV.
Yeah, this list was very hard. It hurt my heart to leave out Eddie George. Like it really did.
Love Eddie George. Loved him here. Loved his Heisman Trophy winning year in '95 at Ohio State.
Yep.
And then when they came here, just delightful, man.
That's
so
awesome.
fun to deal with.
That's awesome.
I had too much respect for the senior Shula and the Larry Zonka days and all that good stuff. So I had to get one in.
Is Ricky Williams appreciated? He's not in the Hall of Fame.
I don't think he's appreciated.
I don't know if he is.
Enough.
Heisman Trophy winner in '98 at Texas.
Sure.
But more people, I think, associate him with either the pot or the Saints giving up the world for one of the two, not necessarily him on the field.
One, he couldn't help. One's his business.
Sure.
And he still performed very well.
That's right. He absolutely did. But no, good list. I thought that was a lot of fun trying to put together all of these running backs. But I'm excited about these two games tonight. I think, both will be interesting.
Y'all know I went 5-0 in NFL this week.
You don't say.
Wait, Brett went 5-0?
I'm not bragging or anything.
No, I mean, just letting us know. I mean,
fifth mentioned in 3 hours.
I think it's only the first time I've heard it, Brett. I don't know.
Seventh in the building today.
Yeah.
Seventh mention in the building.
Say no more roll tide, roll Brett. That's what we're doing now. Roll Brett.
Roll Brett, roll. Maybe you can keep rolling tonight. Who knows? But let's go ahead and get to our final break of the day. And when we come back, we'll wrap up today's show with Crunch Time.
Be sure to follow us at Sports56 WHBQ on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube to watch live video of our shows. Stay up to date with station events and have chances to win prizes. Don't miss out on anything that's going on. Follow us at Sports56 WHBQ.
Just a quick reminder, it's football season, and if you are not spending a little time each weekend watching college or pro ball at Bell Tavern, Memphis' perfect downtown neighborhood bar, people might be talking about you behind your back. See, everyone else has figured out that Bell Tavern, with its ice-cold beer, signature cocktails, cozy atmosphere, and incredible staff, is the perfect place to while away a fall Saturday or Sunday cheering on your team in a place where people act like adults, whether their team is winning or losing. Bell Tavern is not a sports bar, except when it is.
The best I do's start with Sissy's Blue. Discover bridal jewelry worthy of your big day at Sissy's Log Cabin, along with our spectacular experience that comes with our promise of exceptional quality, service, and brilliant natural diamonds. Experience our expansive selection when you stop by any of our 6 locations or shop online at sissyslogcabin.com. Find your perfect engagement ring only at Sissy's Log Cabin, because life's too short for ordinary jewelry.
It's time to get your Kia on at Gossett Kia on the bike with 41 MPG and new 2024 Kia Forte LXS $199 a month, $37.99 do it signing. 2025 Kia Sportage $269 a month, $34.99 do it signing. And 2024 Kia Telluride S $359 a month, $39.99 do it signing. And 0% for 72 months on 2024 Kia EV9 Lite available. Plus you always get peace of mind with Kia's 10-year 100,000-mile powertrain limited warranty. Call Bobby J. He's ready to put you in your new Kia today. That's Gossett Kia 1900 Covington Pike or online KiaCovingtonPike.com.
If you want it, we got it at Gossett Motor Cars.
Acquisition fee $20,000 per year, 20 cents excess mileage. Forte RE794 626 MSRP 21820. Telluride RG453 666 MSRP 39835. Sportage S73 40278 MSRP 29135. Includes all rebates and incentives. PF 695 includes TT&L. Must finance through Hyundai with approved credit valid through 9/30/24. Dealer stock only.
Hi, this is Troy Fiveash, owner of Fiveash Roofing. In these uncertain economic times, there are so many things as a contractor and a business owner that I cannot control. The rising cost of materials, not to mention fuel and transportation costs. In the last 2 years, shingle prices have almost doubled, and commercial materials have doubled. And I don't have to tell you what fuel costs these days. But you know what I can control? How much markup I put on a project. I have always prided myself in knowing I never gouge a customer. But in an effort to ensure my crews have work and my customers are being treated fairly, I have lowered my profit margin, hoping to give you a price you can live with and keeping my crews busy. So if you need a roof or gutters, please give us a call. Fiveash Roofing, fair, honest, and ethical. Fiveash Roofing, a proud sponsor of Tiger Athletics and a member of the Tigers home team. 367-0050 or MemphisRoofer.com. 367-0050 or MemphisRoofer.com.
This is pretty cool, and we're just getting started, so.
Spanning the globe.
Go crazy, folks! Go crazy!
This is for all the biggest crunch time.
You are looking live. In your life have you seen anything like that? Goodbye! Hello, Haskell.
It's obviously crunch time.
Hammer, nail, coffin. This baby is over.
Well, Brett, I learned a couple of things today. The first thing is that Brock Glenn, the quarterback for Florida State, will start versus Clemson, and it's not because Florida State is benching. Well, maybe. It's not because they're benching DJU. DJU is reportedly expected to miss a few weeks with a finger injury on his throwing hand. So now Brock Glenn will make his first start of the season in a big-time matchup against Clemson. Tough spot to start for the young quarterback, but we'll see what he can do. I have one of my best friends lives in Dallas, went to SMU. He was at the game on Saturday, and he texted me during it and said that he bought tickets in the Florida State section because they were a little cheaper, and so he was sitting around Florida State fans the whole time, and he said the strong majority wanted Brock Glenn to be their starting quarterback, and I said, oh yeah, they're very vocal about how they want Brock Glenn. So now they'll get what they want. Brock Glenn will start this Saturday in that big game against Clemson.
That is something that FSU's this bad.
Oh man, it's hard to believe.
It really is. What I learned today, Carson Beck really misses Brock Bowers and Ladd McConkey, but may have found something. May have found something in that comeback and taking the lead against Alabama before giving it back up. Home against Auburn this week, home against State on October 12th, at Texas on October 19th. Game at Texas and home versus Tennessee. That's against the two UTs. That will decide Georgia's season. Yeah. Carson Beck was rattled, but found something, I think, later.
Yeah, I think you're right. Something else I learned today, look out for the Washington Commanders. Man, they looked good yesterday against Arizona, and, I mean, what Jaden Daniels is doing, he is so much fun to watch, and he has been every game to start the season. What I could have done without today, it's what we started the show talking about. Dikembe Mutombo passed away. It was announced earlier this morning. Commissioner Adam Silver put out a really nice statement just talking about not only the player he was on the court, but the person he was, the global ambassador he was for the game of basketball for his country. They now have NBA Africa, where they have teams over in Africa playing. For
it's paying off.
It absolutely is, and so a lot of that is because of Dikembe Mutombo and wanted to give back to not only his country but the whole continent of Africa. And so definitely really sad to see that news earlier today. But just looking back at his career, 4-time Defensive Player of the Year, 8-time All-Star, 3-time All-NBA, 6-time All-Defense, second all-time in blocks, third all-time in blocks per game. And then, I mentioned it, Jaren Jackson Jr. talked about, the impact that Dikembe Mutombo had on his life and the relationship there with his father being roommates with Dikembe. And so, you can see a lot of the shot blocking abilities that Jaren has. You can definitely see some of Dikembe Mutombo in him, but definitely was shocked and very sad to see that news earlier. And not only is playing, Brett, his commercials, he was a gifted actor in those commercials, the no, not today.
And the ubiquitous finger wag.
It's just an all-timer, absolutely.
He was. And the NBA Africa Project, what it's done already, you saw it pay off in Paris at the Olympics.
That's right.
And it will more and more through the years. I could have done without the Ole Miss performance on Saturday. You can't have a dream season and lose at home to Kentucky. You just can't. Brock Vandegrift threw for 30 yards against South Carolina, 114 yards against Georgia. He goes for 243 and ran all over the place. Lenore Sellers ought to be watching that. I don't know that he can throw like that, but he sure can run like that on the Ole Miss defense. And then what Garrett Nussmeier's got to be thinking about that Ole Miss secondary. It was inexcusable, and it was pathetic.
Yeah, no, it's not what you wanted to see Saturday morning, the first 11 a.m. game of the season and the first loss of the season for Ole Miss. Where are you beaming tonight?
Beam me to Detroit for Seahawks at Lions. Seattle trying to remain unbeaten. Dan Campbell 0-3 against Seattle. Seattle leads all-time 13-5, and I hope it's the start of a lot of Monday Night Football appearances for Detroit. It's simple. You win, you play on Monday night. If you're a story, that's when you get to play.
That's right. And Detroit has been winning. There's certainly a story, and Dan Campbell, what he's doing up there has been fun to watch. Brett, beam me to the end of this Mets and Braves game so I can celebrate, hopefully, with both teams.
With everybody.
Everybody.
Everybody drinks.
Now, that is something. I don't know how I feel about that, Brett, because as we know, any sporting event you go to, there's one fan base and team that's very happy. There's another fan base and team that is very upset.
New carpet in home clubhouse and visitors clubhouse.
I don't know what to do. All the fans are leaving. Everyone's just celebrating, having a good time because everybody goes home happy. I mean, it's like a participation trophy.
Poor Diamondbacks. They not happy.
Man, no, they can't be happy. They were funny. Whoever runs their social media account, hilarious today. I mean, everything about we're praying for a sweep, we're hoping for a sweep. They're posting just brooms on their Twitter page, and then the Mets win, and they post like pictures of like Mets, and they're like, we're the biggest Mets fans ever. Like, I mean, they
team went to the World Series last year.
I mean, that's how fast it can change, Brett.
Titans at Dolphins night, both in a mess. Titans was kind of predictable, but Dolphins, their world turned upside down when Tua got hurt. Miami leads all time 21-19 over the Titans. And the end of this game too, and the brackets will finally be set. And for tomorrow afternoon baseball, before we come on, 4 games, 1 day, kind of in the noonish 1 o'clock time frame, mid-afternoon, and 2 at night.
Yeah, I mean, it's going to be fun. I mean, like you mentioned, we're going to be starting the show tomorrow and talking about, all right, this Tigers-Astros game is starting to wind down.
1 game from elimination.
Exactly. Oh, man, it's going to be so much fun. I'm so excited. I mean, these 2 games today are everything but just the title of playoff baseball. They've been fun to watch. I know tomorrow will be a ton of fun, as well as these games tonight. And a reminder, you can listen to Seahawks at Lions, that second Monday Night Football game tonight. You can listen to it right here on Sports 56. We'll have coverage beginning at 7 p.m. right after Rebel Yell. That's all the time we have. Enjoy your night. We'll talk to you again tomorrow afternoon.
With 2 conveyor lines and the largest batch ovens in the Mid-South, Rick's can accommodate all of your powder coating needs. Locally owned and operated
Created since 2002, Rick's Powder Coating will customize a beautiful finish just for you. Drop by or call to see how Rick's Powder Coating can bring color to your life. 901-367-2771 or rickspowdercoating.com.
Wash your house, wash your office building? Impossible! Not call Wilson's Pro Wash. Your house, fence, driveway, warehouse, store, hotel, even cars and trucks can all be squeaky clean and beautiful after pressure washing by Wilson's Pro Wash. Wilson's specializes in cleaning all hard surfaces, concrete, stone, brick, and mortar, even wood and vinyl siding. Then Wilson's can seal your surfaces so they stay looking brand new. Call Wilson's Pro Wash. 901-524-6799 or online at wilsonsprowash.com.
Rich Eisen here from Monday Night Football on Westwood One. Join us all season long as we get you ready for primetime NFL action every Monday night. Along with Kevin Harlan, Hall of Fame quarterback Kurt Warner, and the entire Westwood One team will take you inside the locker rooms and the stadiums for exclusive previews and all the play-by-play action. Every week on Monday Night Football.
Right here on Sports 56.
Wendy's breakfast burrito has an entire breakfast in every bite. Fresh cracked eggs,